across our dear and beloved Liberia. Our guest is already in. He's the Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Minister Samuel Tweah. He's here already. We're still expecting two of our talk show hosts in presence of Rodney Sieh of Frontpage Africa and Julius Sieh. But we do have Austin Kawah from Freedom FM and Benjamin Myers from Joy FM. Ben, welcome.
Thank you, Sorbor Josh. It is an esteemed. Thank you. It is an esteemed honor being here to interview the Minister of Finance. I'm hoping and praying that we have a discussion that broadens the perspective of the public and informs them about the plethora of circumstances that we're going through as a nation of people and what's been readily done to handle the situations that we're confronted with. I'm looking forward to a smooth discussion of that nature, and I have absolutely no doubt because the lineup is a group of professional journalists that have an in-depth understanding of the policy implications of the country. And so, sitting with the finance minister, who himself is an intellectual, the public will be informed about the circumstances around that.
Okay, so Austin is also here. Austin, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Sorbor, and it's always been a pleasure to be here. I know interacting with the normal man, it's interesting, but the numbers are available. We're going to put the names on the numbers and the impacts the numbers have had on the lives of the people. And so it's always good to be here.
Thank you for coming. Let's officially and honorably welcome the minister. Mr. Minister, welcome.
Well, thank you again for having me here today with a esteemed gallery of journalists. It's always a pleasure to engage and interact with the Liberian people. We are barely 2 weeks to election. Our government was inaugurated on January 2018, and we are just on the cusp of elections for a second term. And so this is an excellent opportunity to continue to provide the successes, the story of our achievements and our successes, and the challenges we continue to face as a country, and why the second term is important for the president and for the people of Liberia, given what the president has done under extremely difficult circumstances. He has done more with less. So I'm always grateful to have the honor and the privilege to tell the Liberian people our success story. And they already know that, but it's good to always engage with them. So thank you for having me.
Okay, many thanks, Mr. Minister, for coming. We've got a couple of online institutions, media institutions, including the LNTV is online, the that's the CDC TV also online, KMTV, Lina, DTV, GDL Hard Talk, Frontpage Africa TV, and Make-It. They are all here, and I'm sure other stations are also relaying this interview. Orchid FM, Freedom FM, they're all relaying this interview, including Joy FM. But Mr. Minister, let's begin. I'm sure you've come here before on several occasions. We spoke with you on some of the demonstrable strides and interventions this government has made in areas of the economy, education, and health. We've spoken about all of those areas before. I know we'll touch about them again. But let's look at what is topping the headlines, what's trending now, concerning some of the statements being made by some of your colleagues or friends in the opposition bloc as well. Let me refresh your memory. I'm sure you may also either agree or you may not agree with me. When I'm talking about you, I'm making reference to the CDC. When you were in the opposition, I can remember hearing the CDC then at the time resorting to political demonizations, threats, and insults and all of that. You were always heralding the need for peace. You always spoke about that. Even if there were circumstances, there were conditions, there were situations that could provoke you, you were always on the path of sustaining the peace. But what we're hearing now, Mr. Minister, is that it's troubling, especially hearing from people who are, who we believe should be revered, should be well, discipline and all of that, who've been in the political arena for quite a long time, talking about ending the peace. Just in recent time, we heard the former Vice President, Joseph Yumamboyka, the ambassador, talking about ending the peace. Mr. Minister, what is happening? Is it troubling? Has it claimed the attention of you and others?
Thank you, Sorbor. I think this is the most significant and consequential question on this show today. As you said, we have been here to talk about development, our successes. There can be no development success if we go to war. So everything that the president has achieved for the Liberian people has happened on the backdrop of sustained peace in the absence of United Nations peacekeeping troops. This country has been reputed for holding the peace together. This president and the former president, President Sieh, kept the peace over 3 presidential terms. The Unity Party managed the country for 2 of those terms. Elections were disputed. President George Weah felt aggrieved, but he attended the inauguration of President Sieh. Do you know what it means if you're hurting and you look at your opponent being sworn in while you're sitting? He didn't just stop there. He went ahead and fought for peace as an opposition leader. So he said, look, I'm the biggest opposition to you, Madam Sieh, but when it comes to peace, there's no opposition, there's no ruling government, there is Liberia. Because if things break down, you government, you opposition, you will be running. And we don't want anybody to run.
Surely.
So on that basis, I will help your government to stabilize this country. And so President Weah, as an opposition, accepted the title to fight for peace, became peace ambassador under the president. He attended many programs of President Sieh. Let me tell you, since President Weah took office, Vice President Boyka has never attended a single program of the CDC. No State of the Nation address. Nothing. It's bringing about bitterness and anger. And I don't know, why is this desperation? Why is this? Why did George Weah show love in opposition? But he cannot receive that from VP Boyka and the Unity Party people. So it's a very important question for us to expound on while we're hearing all of this. When the Vice President threatened to end Liberia, that statement is more significant than you people in the media, even our people in the international community are quoting it. It's a huge statement. I have not seen the kind of response that should be meted out against that statement from civil society, from everybody.
Well,
because
can I come in there?
You have not even.
But there is a whole lot of
Uncle Ben George by Julius. You keep late that Julius.
That's because there's a whole lot happening out there.
Julius was saying be fine, but what I'm saying in collectivity, I know there are journalists, there are people who standing for the country. But I mean, the united collective response is what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
No, but that is not what I'm even talking about. I want to take you back when you talk about Mr. Weah feeling aggrieved. Mr. Weah and his CDC, whether it's 2005 or 2011, did not adduce any evidence whatsoever in a court of law to talk about that aggrieved nature that you spoke about. So obviously, you did not have an issue.
No, the point I'm making here is that the president attended all of Madam Sieh's programs.
That's why being aggrieved.
That's what I'm making. Of course, he was not happy with the outcome of the result. We have challenged them
in a court of conduct jurisdiction. That he didn't do. So that means he did not have a problem.
No. He had problems. CDC people had problems. CDC people protested. What we're saying, they protested within the means of the law. Whether we challenge it in the court of law, we did it. We protested. Those are the democratic means that are allowed. if you went to the Supreme Court, you want to court, that's a democratic means. If you get in the street and say you want to front anger, that's a democratic means. All these things happen. It's allowed in the United States, in France, everywhere. What is not allowed for you to say that if I don't win the election, I will end the country. That one, it has no space in our democracy.
If it is rigged.
No. It's not a question of if it is rigged or when it is rigged. No, it is not. What is not possible, if you are aggrieved, if you have issues, you just said it, you go to court, you can protest, you can exhaust the democratic means. The other point here is that you cannot be the determinant of what a free, fair election is.
So, Mr. Minister, before you go to that determinant thing, let me take it back to the vice president and his attendance at public events.
Yeah.
We've received on public records the major opposition folks complaining that your government has refused to serve them official invitations to most of your key events.
That is not true.
So is that you can just discard and be dismissive about that? The Unity Party continue to say that you did not serve them invitation. Your most recent event you held was the 100 was the Independence Day celebration.
Yes.
You didn't invite the Unity Party on the record.
Who said that?
That's what they said. You heard the information. Did you reach out to your political people to send invitation to the UP?
All these programs, these are state programs. Listen, the Liberia's protocols as managed by the foreign ministry is not managed on the basis of political party. No, it's established. It's institutions that are supposed to be invited. Well, the opposition has invitation all these events. It just didn't start now. It started around Sieh. This is how President we have been getting all this stuff, and he goes there.
Did you expect that to come to the program, or you serve them official invitation?
We serve them official invitation. The president doesn't call people and say, "You're please send for, you're please invite." No, these protocols are established for the last 30, 50, 100 years in Liberia. Who all come to the program? Yeah, nobody intervened. Nothing. Who else giving? So people receive the invitation to turn it down. I'm just saying. Now, once there have been 5 State of the Nation addresses by the president. Not one attended.
So, what do you think might be influencing the
It's just a level of venom and hate, and somebody believe that.
Hate could be a strong word.
Yeah, no, but that's a why would President Weah attend President Sieh, President Bwaka's program, the same program that brings Vice President Bwaka to power as a vice president? The opposition goes there, shake hands, meet diplomats. But why then that same Bwaka cannot reciprocate? How do I describe that? It has to be around anger, venom, hate, or something in the country, and the country doesn't deserve that.
But he accepted the election results, and even Commander Mr. Weah.
Acceptance of the election result is shown by attending programs like that. We're not saying you should go hug President Weah every day, but for national events like the Flag Day, like the National Independence Day, like the State of the Nation address, where dignitaries and diplomats come, opposition leaders are expected to go there so that they see the country in unison. It has not happened.
It is also thought that these national programs are politicized by the CDC, so much so that you have your berets and all these your CDC paraphernalia at national programs, making others feel quite uncomfortable.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse for not attending something in 5 years.
That should be a legitimate concern, Mr. Minister.
It is a legitimate.
Let me get back to your national events.
Let's get back to
wearing party paramedias, their berets. You make the gallery uncomfortable for your opposition to show face.
No. Opposition people are attending a national event. They go there in the dignified suits. They sit. They stand up for the national item. They make remarks if they are afforded the time. They leave. That's public function. They're not doing so because of the president. They're not doing so because of the speaker. They're doing so because of the position they hold. They are seeking office. Let me tell you, to seek political power in a country, to want to be president, to want to be speaker, to want to be a legislator, you must love the country and the people, number one. So the first basis of credibility you have is to say, look, I love my people. That's why I want to represent them. I want them to vote for me because I have plans. When a man says, I want to destroy the country, if the people don't vote for me, I will destroy it. It means he doesn't love the people.
Is this an attempt to question their love for country?
I'm here today saying the vice president has lost the basis, the credible basis for contesting political power, because he has said he wants the country to be destroyed. Here's the thing. You know, in the Bible story with King Solomon, right? The people were disputing, they were fighting over the baby, right? Well, the owner and the baby, the legitimate owner and the woman who didn't have the baby. And what the solution the king came up with? He said, let's the baby. Who jump on and say, yeah, let's do it? The woman who did not own the baby.
Surely.
So when you don't own and lost something, you fight to destroy it. When you own and lost something, you say, no. That baby, give it to her because that mother talking there. So, but Vice President Brecker, does he love this country?
There was a condition given to that statement that in the case that the election is rigged, then it would mark
that condition fails logically because the determinant for an election being free, fair is not one of the contestants. So that condition collapses in logic. Me and you fighting for something, but there has to be an independent third person to say free and fair. I cannot say if I don't win, then the election is not free and fair. No, I'm imposing my rules, my preferences on an established democratic system in this country.
I don't think the vice president said emphatically that if I don't win. He said if the election is rigged, which could mean that any person contesting in the election could win.
But that's the question.
But if the result goes against them and does not reflect the general will of the people,
so when you determine that the election is not free and fair, who makes the determination? Let's go back to maybe sometime we have to step back.
Maybe he made a statement judging from the trend of events at the National Elections Commission.
What trend of events?
They're complaining currently that the final registration rule has not been published as required by the elections law, and those are things that create doubt for those contesting in the election.
2005 political party raised seem concerned. People wrote letters to them. In any election, there will be complaints on it. None of those things warrant you saying that the country will come to an end.
But if you are seeing signs of lack of credibility in the process,
you cannot end the. You're not understanding the magnitude of this thing. The war did not end Liberia.
Does Ambassador Brecker have the capacity to do it?
Well, listen, I can't take anything for granted. When people start using slogans like rescue soldiers, I don't know who people are talking to. The state security, everybody got to be on the alert. The people of the country have to be on the alert. Because when people start making statements, when they say, I will be the judge and the player. So you have your representatives at the polling place. I was a representative in 1997, and I know what that thing means.
Okay.
You are right there, they counting the vote. I was right there when Taylor won about 85-90% of the vote at RC Lawson. You are there, seeing, observing everything, and you look at that. So 1 hour after those counts, in at least 70% of Liberia, 70% of the 2.4 million people registered to vote live in reachable urban areas like Monrovia, polling centers like GW Gibson, Ganta High School, Harper High, all these places that can be reached in 30 minutes after, even 1 hour after 1 second after the count. Tally sheets are all over the place. The electoral trend will be known by the country. All the voters, all the party, the CDC, within that 70% area, we have the tally sheets brought to them within the next 2 hours, I believe. They will, if you ask them, say, can you all account for 70% of the 100% of that 70% will be in? I'm not talking about the 30%, but the election will be decided on that 70%. So no political party can say they are cheated because you have 70%. You just go to them and say, okay, let's count your 70% vote. Let's see the total you have. Since your people were there and they signed these tally sheets, you, the journalists, have that capacity to even show. Okay, statistically, the 70% results, since you all can do so.
It was the same system that was used in 2005.
That's right.
2011 that you contested.
Okay, fine, but
how can we knew all these things are available? The systems were in place. Yeah. But yet, you contested the results, or you insisted
politicians will contest results, but politicians.
So why don't you
what is doing is not different. No, it's different. He's saying that if it doesn't really come to the country, does not exist. And the country does not exist is greater than the war that collapsed this country here for more than 14 years. So if somebody makes a statement saying the country will not exist, you guys have to what do you mean? The statement that came out where was flimsy. You can see that there is no defense. The vice president needs to come out and say, I apologize for if he really means well. If he doesn't do that, the evidence is that okay, if he can't say he made a mistake, then the Liberian people will have to conclude that he really intends to punish them by ending the country, and because no matter what, he has already determined. Look, let me tell you.
What is your interpretation of ending this country?
Why is it that the Unity Party is also complaining and crying? What is the basis? Let me tell you. Two teams are coming to play. One team looks like it has a stronger likelihood of winning, maybe by some kind of money, like UP and CDC now. CDC, ANC, UP have all conducted opinion polling. They have done polling, and all the polling have shown that CDC in the lead. International partners are conducting polling right now. We got some of the information. The polling, they are even surprised about the turnout, the result that we're getting in Nimba and Lufa. So what's what they're saying? Say, Opo, how come this thing here? And the false narrative out there in the public is that UK is supposed to be beating CDC, where in reality CDC is winning. So on what ground are you coming to say that you will be cheated, that you are the one winning the election? All the polls, I have done more than 10 polls. None of the party has won nationally.
Which does not suggest that the election results will reflect the actual statistics from the polls. Now, the thing is, the statement was made by the vice president.
Yeah.
It is possible that he meant it in exact term.
Yeah.
It is also possible that he meant it in literal term.
No, you don't.
So what is your exact interpretation? What is your exact interpretation of the statement that the country will come to an end? How are you interpreting it? Because you're adding so much energy.
That's not an interpretation for me. This is the avowed wish for the Liberian people. Since President Weah came to office, they have been trying to put this country to an end, to put this government on the ground, to put our people down with all the propaganda that we've seen here. They created a mess in the country. The president came and stabilized it. They used the opportunity of that stabilization, the tough policies that were placed, that we had to do, help the whole country, the government was going to collapse. They turned that into a political football. They did not want the president to govern peacefully. That has been their strategy politically, to undermine the governance of the country so that it can appear to the Liberian people that the man does not have the capacity to run the country, because this was the campaign they ran on. Now the man has shown otherwise, that okay, you say I don't get the capacity, but I have done more things than you did in your 12 years, and we'll talk about that later on. We'll go point by point. The numbers are there. Yeah, the numbers are there, and I encourage all of them. Anytime I come here, I call them. Let all the opposition people call, let all the critics call, but they don't call. But when I leave there, I hear different things they're talking. So I'm inviting them today. We are here now. This is going to be a 3-hour conversation. We're going to election. We're going to show them and show the Liberian people what this president has done in simple terms, in simple language. They're feeling it, but we also want to crystallize it for them. Okay, so it's good that we're having a conversation on this end of country comment. I'm calling on the former vice president, if he loves the people of Liberia, to issue a real statement. If he doesn't issue that statement, it will impugn on his integrity. Okay. He has to come clean. Let me tell you, among all the candidates in the country, the man who has integrity is George Weah. In 2005, do you know that the people say George Weah never had education? And you know that in 2005, George Weah came out public and told the Liberian people that he was not a high school graduate. George Weah does not lie. He didn't lie to the Liberian people. So when issues about George Weah, he comes clean. And today he is the president. So the vice president should come clean. If he thinks that he believe it, let him come to Liberia and say what he wants to say, what he wanted to say. But until he does that, the international community, the voters, the Liberians must conclude that this man is having a diabolical design, because we're also seeing that in the rhetoric of his surrogates. To say rescue soldiers is to conjure up gruesome imaginations from our difficult past. Rescue soldier, especially the people who call themselves rescue soldier, we know them. So if you start saying designations like rescue soldier, it means people want to live in the modeling graveyard of the past.
Do you think that the CDC is well positioned to make that argument? Because we've seen something like the Sorbor unit. The Sorbor unit. You see, it was in the CDC. You see, and so they were not warriors. They did not carry arms. They did not carry any effect of destruction. But they were indoctrinated into the philosophy of the CDC to champion the cause of the past. And I think when someone talks about rescue soldier,
the two concepts are different. Yeah. Grassroots militancy is ensconced in the body politic of Liberia. Of course, the Student Unification Party have had some of the strongest militants in the history of this country. Student Democratic Alliance, Student Education Movement. I was a student, so we breed militancy. It's a form of expression in our political discourse. It's not an attempt to say we're going to end the country. So when you see CDC exemplifying militancy, some of the cadres who are in CDC are from the Vanguard to the
Some of the people you're talking about are members of the some of them are members of the ANC.
Those children are doing revolutionary militancy, okay? In the revolutionary cadre of the popular people's struggle. You see elements of militancy. None of that means that element is going to threaten the state. Are you telling me that soup has threatened the survival of Liberia because they wear khaki and they show militancy? Okay. So then, but when you see a former warrior actor calling himself rescue soldier, at the same time plans are being made to end the state, then those comparisons can
Mr. Minister, I have a tape to play, and I'm sure you will want to add a comment on this. Let's listen to this tape for a few seconds.
You can wear a haircut.
You be in this country. I just came from Lac. I came from Kipma. Our resources are leaving. You be in this country. I just came from Lac. I came from Kipma. Our resources are leaving the country without benefit to the citizens. Is that what we put in office for? Is that why we're going to get in 6 more? You be in this country. I just came from Lac. I came from Kipma. Our resources are leaving the country without benefit to the citizens. Is that what we put in office for?
So, Mr. Minister, you listen to the former Vice President that our resources are leaving the country for any benefit at all to the citizens. How do you react to this? You are sitting on top of the resources, in another word.
You know, when you hear a statement like that, you have to wonder what resources the former Vice President is talking about. Because as I said today, we talk about the numbers, and we have the numbers before us here. We presented this graph, and it's going all over, but we use this opportunity to tell Liberian people put that statement in context. First, the Vice President who's talking receives significantly more resources than we ever dream of. Just between 2013 to 17, 4 billion external aid. The similar number for us in the 6th year is 1.7 or 1.8 thereabouts. So that's external side. On the domestic revenue side, the Vice President, his maximum collection was 463 million. Our maximum collection was 579 million. So it means while we are getting less external resources, we are pushing harder to get more domestic resources to do the work. And what have we done? That same Vice President who's talking about wasting resources, he laid off 5,000 Liberian workers when they came to power. 5,000 government workers were laid off by the Vice President when they came to power. So, you know how much money the government of Liberia would have paid to those 5,000 workers if they were still on the payroll today? We would have given them 96 million United States dollars. Almost 100 million would have gone to families, to people in Grand Jida, to people in Lufa, to people in Monrovia here, families, to teach us all of that. Those resources were deprived, those Liberians were deprived of $96 million by the man who just said that people are wasting resources away. When the CDC came to power, what did we do when we faced that same situation? We could have put 5,000 people down on the payroll. Instead, what did the president do? The president put 2,300 workers on the payroll who were not on the payroll. Now, let the voters think about this. In United Party case, people were on the payroll and they cut them down. But the Vice President also threatened when he come back, he would take maybe 30,000 people on the payroll already. He already made that threat. But in 2007 or 8, they took those 5,000 people who were on the payroll. In President Weah's case, they were not on the payroll. They had no claim to taxpayer money. They were being paid by donors. They were not there. He created space for 2,300 of them to come on that payroll. Stark difference about who loves the country.
But that's the responsibility of the government.
They were providing services. So it's the responsibility of the Unity Party not to have put the 5,000 people down. They exercise that responsibility. It was the responsibility of CDC not to have put the...
But you just came from war and they wanted a more effective government. As I said.
Let me just continue. Let's hear the numbers.
You hear the numbers. That was that. Then what about volunteer teachers? There were around 2,800 volunteer teachers, more than 4,000 teachers under the Unity Party, with all the panoply of resources that they had. None of those teachers made the payroll. So you know what it means to be a volunteer teacher? It means maybe if somebody's birthday comes, the fee happy, the government fee happy, the government will pay you. But you're teaching for free for 12 years. 12 long years, our teachers. Because we have put 2,800 teachers on the payroll using the resources that the vice president just said leaving the country. Instead of admitting that the resources are not leaving the country, they are going in the pockets of volunteer teachers. They are going in the pockets of 3,100 supplementary teachers who were called supplementary under the Unity Party. To be supplementary means you are a supplement. You are not a main guy. So we pay you $45 every month. President Weah has taken their pay to $150 every month. Mr. Vice President, that is where the Liberian people money is going. It's going on free tuition, on free WAS, on supplementary teachers, on doctors, on nurses, on Eastern health workers. Okay? Okay, let's go down. That's macro. Take road. More than 347 kilometers of road have been paid. The comparison of that period was around 150 to 200 kilometers. Community roads where people live, where children drive on a motorbike or on a car to go to school, where in the livable spaces, George Weah has built more than 105 kilometers of road in 6 years, compared to Unity Parties around maybe 50 kilometers or thereabout. In 12 years, Mr. Vice President, I beg to differ, sir. This is where the Liberian people money is going. Electricity. This president, hold on. This president has, since Liberia was founded, about 1 million Liberians now have, almost 1 million Liberians now have electricity, access to electricity, even placing more pressure on the system. It's happening under this president. The Mankofi Hydro, moving from that 88 megawatt it is now to around 350 megawatts that will really serve the size of our economy, is now happening, being played under this president. Nearly how many years? 60 or more years since President Tubman built that. This is the government that is looking after the people, making the necessary investments in people using pro policies. So the vice president is egregiously wrong when he say your resources. So this is the propaganda. Your resources are leaving the country. Which resources are leaving this country under George Weah? Resources leave country? Mr. No, it's under Unity Party that resources.
Let's be more practical. Let's be more practical here.
Okay, so before you come with your question, let me just introduce Mr. Michael Gilman. Mr. Gilman is from the from the GDEC Hard Talk, in fact, from the US. Welcome to the program, sir, Mr. Gilman.
Well, thank you very much.
Sorry for lately welcoming you.
No problem.
Okay, so Austin,
it's great to be here.
You can come with a question.
Yes, I like us to be more practical, and I think I have huge interest in the statement made by the former vice president, when he says resources are leaving our country, the benefits are little. When you go to Grand Cape Mount, for example, the Big Mountain, or what used to be the Aerials Mountain, our mining company, you realize that a lot is being extracted from our source. Little is seen physically as impact or benefits to the people. You see, the people are still complaining about being contractors, short-term contractors, instead of long-term contractors or having permanent employment. You see that they still complaining of being underpaid, paid far below the minimum wage. Are you aware of these concerns?
Listen.
And what have you done to address them under 6 years?
Listen, we just amended the agreement, the Big Mountain agreement, the Asalamita agreement, were inherited by President Weah. Those agreements, the way the governance structure of those agreements set by law, national legislature, was passed under VP Bwaka. The VP probably was sleeping when those things were being passed, so he probably didn't read it. That's because if he goes to Cape Mount and having presided over the national state where Big Mountain agreement was passed, Esalamita was passed, we are now having an opportunity to review this agreement on the mandate of the president. We just passed Big Mountain. You compare the Big Mountain agreement that Bwaka presided over, maybe slept over. And the agreement that President Weah just approved and the legislative ratified, it's a day and night.
You can't state some of the
amount of ingredients, the amount of money that's going to the people, the amount of money, the requirement, amount of money going to community has been increased tremendously.
It used to be between 100 to 150,000.
People could get more than $1 million. And
they could,
yes. I mean, they will get more than $1 million.
The concession agreement should be likened to a spreadsheet of exactitude.
That's correct.
So you want to be exact?
No, I will not listen. That's a cumbersome agreement. I'm not going to sit here and give you all the numbers. I'm telling you, significant increment in resources going to the people of Grand Cape, my country, to the project affected communities than the previous agreement.
What about the construction of a medical facility, a public schools? Those are things that people the
law says it's talking about. This, you follow the hearing. Those are things that we are pressing them under our governance regime to make sure those things happen. So you saw the roads you saw the roads going there. You see the roads going to the Cape Mount area. In the B Mountain area, have you traveled there recently? How do you think the roads got there? Who put it there? Joseph Barker was vice president for 12 years. The road were there.
Maybe
it was not there.
Or the execution of the agreement. Is in phases.
You execute 12 years and the people don't see road. When President Weah come and you say you won't get a credit because President Weah forced the people. It's the same thing in my country. The situation, President Weah had to come to power for you to see that Sunny Quayle Road and the Sunny Quayle Road. The reason why the number of people voting for the president is because they are seeing. No, I forgot to say. I forgot to say in Gil. I just forgot it. Somebody told me one Gil woman saw the quota and she used in Gil. Maybe somebody can post and test it and say that black road coming to Campley. So the Gil for that one. I remember it. The woman said it. That woman is voting for George Weah. Okay. You know why she's voting for him? Because she has seen something that never happened in the history of the country, and all these things are happening all of the So we are improving concession agreement. Even our current negotiation with ArcelorMittal is on the president mandate to open an international gateway so everybody can use the gateway. The agreement we have here has some limitations in that regard. It is the president who's working to change that, so that we get more resources from other people, we get more resources from ArcelorMittal at the same time, but we get other resources from third-party users. This president is the one making that. That's the way he's negotiating. So,
Mr. Minister, it's reported that the last administration passed about 68 concessions agreement. We understand. 66 of the 68, in fact, we understand, were passed fraudulently. Now, do you care to tell us, as to during your administration, how much have you, or how many of the concession agreement have you passed?
Well, I will not sit here and tell you how many. I mean, to come up with that, you have to do an exhaustive study to all of that. What I will tell you is that the agreements that we are passing, we're passing them under higher standards of governance. Meaning,
as compared to the
past. We are getting more money from them. We're reducing the input duties. As a matter of fact, we are redefining. We have been giving things away a lot to investors. Yeah. We are now, the president has said, look, it's now time to raise our revenue. To get to billion, to get to 1.5 billion, you have to now start looking at things. I mean, for example, people have been bringing SUVs here and calling them capital equipment and getting duty exemption on it for 12 years. Company bring SUV, they say, like, that's not capital equipment. SUV, like car, it will pay the duty. You bring yellow machines here. So we just changed on the president, like, you just changed that law. Nobody bringing SUV again with claim you pay for it. So we are the ones who are fixing the mess that we inherited, cleaning the system to get more money to do roads, to do schools. Let me tell you. Hold on, listen. Listen. We're talking about brand people here. Yes, so listen. And since this country was founded, 27 school districts in this country, they divided the education school into education districts. Yes. 27 of them have never had a high school. So people living in those districts have had to go to other places to go to high school. Yes, by December. By December, all of them will have a high school. Now, let me. By December, all 27 districts will have high school for the first time since the founding of the republic.
So, Mr. Minister, I want to come back on this thing a little bit. You talk about reviewing the concession agreements.
Yeah.
out of higher standard than the United Party did.
That's correct.
Now, I want to know as to whether it is just about reviewing concession agreements on your government or providing the enabling environment to bring in new concession agreements in addition to the revision you're carrying out.
Of course, so these are new.
So how many of them have come so far? Could you name the first 3 most essential concession agreements that came on your government?
These are new. These are existing concession agreements. You know, the fallacy on concession agreement is that you have a Nimba mountain, you have a B mountain, right? That's major mountains. There are limitations on natural resources. The expectation is that you will have about 5 or 10 asala mitals. I want to tell the Gambia trade the other day. There will not be 10 asala mitals here because you have a limitation on the number of mountains you have. You will improve on asala mital through. There will not be another 5 Putu Mound because there's one Putu Mound, there's one Bologisi Mound. So your concession around these major natural resources like iron ore will be limited. What you will have to do is to continue to get the squeeze out of it. You maybe more taxes they're paying, hiring more people. All right. So that's why when you look at Liberia investment profile, the time you are signing all these investments, Liberia was an outlier in Africa as a share of GDP. It goes way up because you're coming from where you're entering. Then it drops way below Africa after the 2013, 2014. There is nothing in Liberia land flat. Of course, because there are not many human mountain. The jobs in this country are not going to come from having 200 asala mital or concession. That's not our path to prosperity.
But it is important.
Asala mital hire 1,500, B mountain hire 1,500. You need to provide 1 million jobs. Your focus in this country is to solve the electricity problem, is to solve the road problem, so small enterprises can hire people that will take you up in agriculture and forestry to around 500,000 jobs. That is the focus here. So this focus to say we're supposed to be looking for 50 other asala mital, I don't know. It's a misunderstanding on the number of resources. Right? If you talk, you got to go find new mountains for us to do concession too. Yeah, there will be the gold prospectors coming, small money. But in terms of iron ore, raw material, in terms of rubber, okay, you have rubber plants. You have Firestone here. You have rubber planters already planting the rubber space. Oil palm, you have companies already in the oil palm space. All right. So the issue is not we want to see new concession like asala mital. Like Putu mine, yes, we have to stand Putu up, and we've been doing it for the last few years. There are some difficulties, legal challenges, reason why we've not moved on that front. The Putu mine.
And what are some of those challenges?
Yeah, there are legal challenges. We got to go to court to concern. So all kinds. We didn't want to go to court because that would show that the investment situation, the mine is locked up in dispute. So we've been trying to find negotiated settlement around that. We will bring Putu on early on in the second term. So in terms of natural resource sector, trust me, okay, the country is at a point where you can't get much in terms of GDP because we're already there. What you were going to do is to pivot to manufacturing, to small processing, to value addition agriculture, fruit juice, those kinds of things. That's where the jobs will be created.
Okay. Now, a 2022 National Investment Commission report, which looked at the number of investments ratified or awaiting ratification under this government between 2019 and 2023 equal 19. 16 of which have been ratified and 3 have been awaiting ratification. And the span natural resource goes into manufacturing, pharmaceutical, petroleum, and the service in industry, tourism. There is looking at how the world is moving. Yeah, you're right when you talk about there cannot be more mountains in the natural resource sector, but much is being concentrated in tourism, ecotourism, and in manufacturing and those kinds of areas. How has your government?
You can't move much on manufacturing because of the cost of electricity. So that has been
in tourism too.
That has been the challenge. But even in tourism, electricity has dragged this country down. The cost of electricity was 55 cents per kilowatt hour under the United Party government. It was the highest cost in the world. Then it moved to 35 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, one among the highest costs in the world. No investor is touching Liberia who wants to be intensive in the use of electricity in small scale processing. You're not coming here. I gave you the example of Sieh. Sieh doing steel. He got steel plant in Ghana, 3. He got 1 in Liberia. I asked him, he said, well, man, my electricity bill here in Liberia yearly can move to around $2.4 million for 1 plant. He invested $25 million in that thing. So in 10 years or so, they made basically spending on electricity how much he invested in the plant. So when he will get his second plant, he got a power plant that is 1.5 megawatt. So he's generating his own power. So that has been the limit. What we've done now is to say, look, let's expand let's make investment in the infrastructure. We have the CLSG lines coming. We want to we also brought the cost down. President Weah has now brought the cost down from 35 cents per kilowatt hour to around, for businesses is around 22 cents. For some consumers is around 17 to 18 cents. That's acceptable. Even that still has to come down further.
The point I'm trying to make is if there were concessionaires that were coming before, when we had the high cost of electricity, if we had up to 68 signing agreements, even though some had issues, 66, you could also create the space to attract a whole lot of investors in different areas.
So I'm just telling you, there's a counter effect. When you start from a low base, you get a higher number. When that higher number has been achieved, you don't. That's it. So that's why we don't judge countries from a low growth. Because so even go high. What you need to do now is to all those pre-existing concessions, plus the new ones that we have tried, have to now. It's not the concession that produces the job. It's the value addition, the downstream industrialization.
That is where
it depends on electricity access, which we are solving.
True,
but to hold us to that point where the infrastructure are not there. All right, look, right now the CLSG line, we're not able to leverage the full impact of the CLSG line because we have to make more investment in transmission and distribution all across the country. When the owner was in power, all that million they had, they should have done those things. That's the foundation we would have stood on today. Not to then move to semi-scale processing. All of that.
Let us come to the job creators.
Yes.
In the West, you have these small businesses.
That's right.
That will create jobs and all of that. What has your government done? What is the tracking? What can you say in terms of the empowerment of small businesses, mostly Liberian-owned businesses that will be able to create the 5 jobs, the 10 jobs, the 15 jobs, the 20 jobs?
So that's the thing I'm saying. When you improve the constraints that are holding the businesses down,
which is electricity.
Electricity is part of it. Roads, the country lock up. People can open up in the Southeast corridor. You should be opening up hotel and rest stations on the Southeast way. Low-fat corridor. Warehouses should be popping up. These difficulties have made loans, a company doesn't want to give them because they feel like in the agriculture sector, they think will not drive the road bad and no power. How you restore your thing?
You have at least 3 years to do that.
No, that's why I just told you 1 million Liberians have access to electricity. When we took office, maybe
how is it 1 million Liberians? So where did you get that number from? Because the
220 households times 5.
245,000 households have access to
times 5.5. Each household there are 5 human beings. So
that is as per your estimation.
No, but let's just don't pull out the book. Why are you using 1 million? When you said I just want you to be clear on how you arrived. Liberian people don't know household. So they don't know that 5 person living in a household on average, or 4 person. So you gotta take the 240, 250 and multiply it by 4. Right there, near a million.
Okay,
that's correct. Under the Unity Party,
we gotta be clear.
There were 40,000 households.
Don't be fact checking.
There were 40,000 households. When you multiply that by 5, that 200,000 Liberian had electricity.
Okay.
The voters this year will have a choice between the people who give out 200,000 Liberian current. And the man who gave him 1 million Liberian current. Now who they supposed to vote?
No, I'm coming. Your
choice is clear.
So if I'm listening to you well, you said on the Union Party government, at least over 200,000 households were connected to the power grid.
No, not household. 40-something thousand households.
Okay, so that means
now far at 200,000 Liberians.
That means
10 SKD.
That means
10 SKD.
That means that your government has connected nearly 200,000 households to the power grid.
That's correct.
Now they brag about negotiating the CLSG lines. They brag about generating the resources to do the transmission. The party government. Listen to me. And so they are taking credit for the CLSC project.
They cannot take credit.
They think that you are working in their emblematic image.
Listen, they cannot take credit. You are a journalist. Oh, you should call the Transco people in the station. Let them tell you how that thing happened.
They said, and when we hosted Transco, they said clearly that the project was at 5% when your government came to power.
That's correct.
You get 100%.
That Transco talking. So these people they have 12 years. The other thing is that just 5%, that just 7%. Lufa road at 0%. The other Nima road at 0%. They stay for 12 years. John Weah can carry everything at 5%. Then they come back and say, no, you don't put John Weah back. We go put the 5% for all back.
That brings me to the point where, upon the completion of the hydro, the United States government, through senators, representatives, the Millennium Challenge, each of them made videos congratulating President Weah and the people of Liberia. They did not congratulate Unity Party. What does that say about President Weah or the current government of Liberia, that a project that was started by Unity Party, completed by President Weah, the United States government that provided the funding, $256 million, is thanking President Weah for the commitment.
I mean, also government will thank the government in power, whether it's Unity Party and CDC. The government in power, listen, the government in power will take the credit for the development that is happening under the government. Question. Simple. Because a plan is a plan. Unity Party people for 12 years were planning the RIA rule. So are we now going to give them the credit because they had the blueprint and George Weah did the work? You know what the music say? You can keep the blueprint, we will do the work.
Yeah.
So, let me tell you something. The hydro we're talking about, which is 88 megawatts now, it was 66 before the war, right?
Yes, sir.
And then Central Government built it, and we added 20. The MCC project took it to 88, added 22 megawatts there. That hydro, they plan to make that hydro get 500 megawatts. You know where they started making that plan? Since the 1960s. Since the 1960s, Liberia and her international partners have been dreaming about turning the Mankofe from 66 megawatt to 500 megawatt. That blueprint been there. I have seen the feasibility that was done by, I think, Stanley Consultants. They did that in 1980, in 1970 on October. They were tinkering with those ideas. The only president that is about to make those ideas a reality, I just explained to you, is Bekube for Kekwonjilane.
Okay, so now before we leave this, let me take him back to the question that you started about the resources leaving the country. When Liberians watch international news, when they travel to other countries, when they hear about how the resources of other countries are benefiting those countries, and when they are standing along the train track, and they see iron ore, tons of iron ore being taken away in ArcelorMittal mining area, when they are in Cape Mount and they see tons of gold being transported, they do not understand taxes that are being paid and what the taxes are doing. They are looking at the fact that they are living in this place, and I have this, and this is living, and my condition is just still the same. How does it concern you? Hold on, sir. How does it concern you as an official, a very key official of the government, that your government is supposed to be making actual moves that will make these people feel the impact of the resources, whether it is by better housing, because that's what we see in other countries, whether it is by better roads, education, water, health, sanitation. Those are, according to the World Bank, the means by which you lift people out of poverty.
That is correct. And what the Liberian people are seeing now, for which they are going to re-elect the president, is that they are seeing tangible things in the last 5.5 years that he has governed.
In those concession areas?
In the using all of the resources that the country has had. First, in the concession area, they have been pressure on ArcelorMittal to do more. We inherited the Mittal concession. We are reviewing it now. The language in that revision is to get more from them. So there's going to be significant more Mittal will be spending in those areas. Same thing with B Mountain. We were locked into a concession. In fact, part of the difficulty with the Mita thing now is that it's law. Whatever Mita has now is law. You can do nothing about. It's law. So until the concession expired, the only way you change that concession is to say you allow it to expire or you negotiate a term. To have improved term under the concession, you and Mita, under the existing agreement, have to agree. Government and Mita have to agree. That's a negotiation we're on. We have not made progress yet because there's a tough negotiation. We are pressing the company for more. Joseph Boakai, who presided over that legislation, did not press them. The same thing will be mounting. So you're right. Majority of the people in the country are not employed by the government. 70,000 people work for the government. If each one of them help 10 Liberians, that's 770,000 people benefit from government things. Out of a population of 5.2 million, that means 4.2 million human beings get no impact from government, like government salary and things like that. Their only impact comes from what you're talking about. If a road is constructed, whether it's a community road, it's a highway, they see that impact. When electricity is dealing at an affordable cost, they see that impact. And that's the work, the heavy work that we're doing. Look, to tell you that we are going to solve Liberia's 176-year-old problem in 5 years, anybody selling you that, don't buy it. That's not true. But for a government that was under extreme pressure with macroeconomic stability that was caused by the previous government, with COVID-19, with Ukraine war, and for that government to keep growth to 4%, to now start to look at structural problems like roads and electricity, all right, in education, to be building schools in every school district, since Joseph Jr, those places that never had school, to now carry school there. You've seen some of the performance. Well, I talked to my brother. I was challenging him. I said, "Mama, you got to make the LU test, the LU exam stuff." He said, "Do you Zico?" He said, "Zico." He called me Zico. He said, "No, man. The student in the country now, we have moved beyond that. What usually worrying about the training, like Kawah, let me tell you, I don't care how you made the test high, the train passing. They have tremendous opportunity." So you see some of the schools that are coming out in WAS, in LU entrance, the Liberian students are studying. So you were trying to tell me, "Mama, you got to come down. Are we dealing with the students?" They're not like before where the poor later. The children studying. They have Google, they have internet, so that narrative that they don't use their internet. The children are studying. They are solving complicated problems. There's a general improvement in the education system. It shows through the work who are happening under. When you look at the passing rates under we are versus them. When you look at the school construction, of course, Liberian human capital situation is still challenged. Of course, because we just developed a new plan that requires $1 billion for us to invest and turn education around. The government need to contribute $500 million on that one. That means in the next 5 years, the government need to put $100 million in human capital.
The last interview we had with the deputy minister of education, he estimated at 900 billion.
They don't say
900 billion.
1 billion like that, right? Yeah.
No, but there's a difference of 100 million. Oh my God, they just talking about.
So maybe we can segue over to the challenges of the government now, because he really seems to be.
Before then, I mean, like I said, I'm highly interested in what is happening now, what's popping up. Some of these statements we are hearing, and because we are in the political season, and you find candidates saying this and that. But let me just bring this to you, Mr. Minister. I know you agree with me. Before then, you had Senator Prince Johnson as one of your prime supporters. In fact, he was part of the coalition. What happened? What didn't happen? Senator Johnson left and crossed over. Now he's with Omen Joseph Yumaboyka. There's an audio which I intend to play, in which Senator Johnson indicated the reason for which they've decided to pick Kawah as the running mate because of the people of Nimba County, so that they benefit tomorrow the presidency. Let's hear this statement, and I'm sure you'll be able to respond or react to that.
I want you to be careful. We are fighting for Nimba County to take the lead, and Nimba will win. In the name of Akabe, I want you to be careful. We are fighting for Nimba County to take the lead, and Nimba will win. In the name of Jesus. Basa with us, Bapolu with us, Woman with us, Lofa with us, Hong County with us. What is your problem? Then you on the radio on me. Hey, my brother, what I do? All right. You gotta change. Because you alone, your voice cannot cover the whole berege. We're fighting for you. Equals our mama. Nimba will win at the old battle the park. I will make up paper at Cocarosi. Boom, and we did it. We are fighting for you. We're begging you people. If you make the man disgrace, or it will be good for you. When you turn to the man against our prayer for you to produce vice president, the woman is old. He take Kun to be vice president. When we win, then I could be doing the job for you. Can he go everywhere? No. The woman is old. He take Kun to be vice president. When we win.
Okay. So, Mr. Minister, I'm sure you listen to the tape there.
Yeah. You know, Liberians are hearing this tape, but they also need to hear the interpretation because sometimes people hear these things and people. The senator is saying that his senator is fighting for Nimba. Well, the Liberian people and the people of Nimba know who've been fighting for Nimba. They're not talk to fight for Nimba. They're not talk to fight for Nimba. The action. Let me tell you, no county has received a share of resources in terms of development compared to Nimba County, maybe outside Montserrat. Yeah. So that's how you fight for Nimba. You don't fight for Nimba by scaring people. Let me tell you, the reason why the senator is calling somebody, what is he doing there? He said, I beg you, you're not disgrace me. Now, you cannot be in the upper hand. You and somebody fighting. You winning the president, then you telling the man, say, oh, you blowing the man, killing the man, you telling the man, hey, I beg you, don't help me, I guess so. But are you blowing the man? No. The person who complaining in the fight is the person who know they're not winning. So when you call and say, I beg you, you don't disgrace us. You don't let the man disgrace us. It means he afraid that he know already that he losing him back. That's why he places the call. So the people who listen to the call gotta know that. You initiating the call, you begging for a reason. And that reason is that the people of Nimba are not following him. Let me be clear. We're following the politician in Nimba County. This same senator went to the Nimba people and said, George, where is the option? And the people came to the president. Now he goes back to the chiefs and say, no, I won't go alongside. The people say, no, but listen, what the thing you see, we're not seeing it because what we're seeing here at Roe, what we're seeing here at Ban High School, what we're seeing that electricity in Ban for the first time. So why should Ganta Saklepie, the road plans, we see the man changing the country. Why would I go for him? And the senator cannot answer that question because it means he's trying to tell the intelligent Nimba people, the Nimba that I know, the people of Nimba that I know, that Prince Johnson is the standard of Nimba County. So as President Ware is on the ballot, there's something else on the ballot as well in Nimba. Whether Nimba is for Prince Johnson or Nimba is for the plurality and majority of Nimba people, all of Nimba people who want the best for Nimba. If the standard is wherever Prince Johnson says, is what obtains in Nimba. That is why it's on the ballot. When the elections happening and we look at the votes in Nimba, I'm convinced that Nimba people will not equate Nimba to Prince Johnson. No, they will equate Nimba to the good things that are happening in Nimba.
Well, there are reports though that you are still in your subterranean dark rooms, still begging. You are groveling on your knees, begging Prince Johnson to still come back to you to support you. These are the reports we're getting.
You know, the kind of question we are a statesman, something that you can't talk because we are talk something general. So that thing is a total opposite. That's what I would say. It is a total opposite.
Is he the one begging you people?
It's the opposite there.
Is he the one begging you people?
And we get text in the email shot. Nobody. Let me tell you something. The reason why Prince Johnson is going is because, let me tell you, Prince Johnson wants to control all of Nimba. He believes he is Nimba. The government, the president believe Prince Johnson is not Nimba. And there are important stakeholders that he will deal with. The president wants to empower a new generation of people in Nimba County in each sector to move the country forward. The country working with.
Mr. Tweah,
yeah.
I will take it down history lane. In 2005, Senator Prince Johnson, he contested for the first time for the Senate. He won with an astronomical percentage and became a stakeholder in the border polity of the country. In 2011, he made a decision to contest in the presidential election whilst being senator of Nema County, and he made an impressive mark by overtaking Charles Walker Bromsky and his Liberty Party to come third in the general and presidential elections. And during the second round, he became an ultimate decider of who wins the second round. When he pledged his support to Madam Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf during the second round against the CDC, Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf won Nema County with an overwhelming percentage against the CDC. The history was repeated in 2017 when he similarly pledged to support to the presidential bid of Madam Ellen Johnson. He pledged support to the CDC, now this time against the Unity Party. And of course, the CDC made some impressive gains in Nema County. So looking at the political history of Prince Johnson and his county member, you can see that he has some sort of control. And this is why he thinks that he is the godfather. And I believe that leaving your political arrangement is a major takeaway.
Listen, and what the election will show when we count the votes, the people of Nema are going to vote for development. Simple. You can't listen. You can't.
Didn't President Ellen develop Nema County?
Yes, no.
In Tapata?
Well, I'm telling you, the development is seen now. They didn't see it then. They didn't see it then. That's why they are impressed with the president. That's why the senator is calling and begging to not be disgraced. That's what I'm telling you. Isn't that why he plays the call we can listen to?
I think it can just be likened to some sort of political negotiation, especially during the time.
No. If he in the upper hand, we're going to see that. We're going to say, listen, my man.
So when you're in the upper hand, you can negotiate?
No. That negotiation that was happening here, that were begging for somebody, that was fearing disgrace. Who fears disgrace if you have the upper hand?
It is an import of logical fallacy where you appeal to emotion.
No. He's fearing disgrace. So he knows that the people of Nimba are going for development. We are seeing that impulse. I just told you some of the people who do impose for international people are shot. We're doing it to see what the people saying they're going for development. They're going for development. Yes, as a senator, you will have people in a place, no question. But listen, the senator the other day said he hasn't been some places 18 years as a senator. Senator said, he said it. He said there are places that are not being to Nema in 18 years.
He's still voting.
It is true. They voted him because of the people who were under him. Now, it is those people who are now carrying the president, which is why it's generating all the tension you see now. Why he's placing this call, why there was that brouhaha in the place that were leading to the vehicle. That's what he's getting, because then the children that have sustained him over the last 12 years are the ones that are saying it is not. The character is on the line, Senator. The president can't do all these things for us, and then we come back and tell our black oil. How will the rest of the county look at us? Where everybody say they meant everything for Nema, how will the Nema character be judged? If you do good thing for a Nema man and he pay you bad, that's a reputational risk. We Nibarians are not risking like that. We are loyal. We will pay good for good, and that's what's on the ballot on October 10th. So the senator knows that.
You sound overly confident, as though you've done an actual assessment that Prince Johnson is no more popular.
I told you, I don't believe in hearsay. They say I'm scientific. I believe in data. I have done more than 25 pollings throughout this country, in every county. I live on the numbers. The Liberian people are electing the president. Unity Party knows this. ANC knows this. So let me do a follow-up.
Now,
Let me do a follow-up question. Now, the Unity Party is currently relaxing on two shock absorbers. It prides itself on the popularity it has in Lofa County, because the presidential candidate hails from Lofa County, and it is also claiming popularity in Nema County because the vice presidential candidate also comes from Nema County. But there are two major disruptors. One, you have Harry Monima, who hails from Lofa County. He's contesting in the presidential elections, and he's on the money trap, and his father has a record there. He may serve as a disruptor in Lofa County against the Unity Party. In Nema County, you also have Tawan Gonglo from the Mano trap, and his sister has been contesting. Of course, the Gonglo family has some popularity in Nema County, and they are going to have a major takeaway from the Unity Party. Do you think that will give you a competitive advantage in these elections?
All the factors you describe normally are factors in politics. Tribal connections, your son coming from the place. These are traditional places. Those politics are there. But you know the biggest disruptor? You're talking about disruptor in the language of disruption? The disruptor is the development. When development steps in the panoply of those tribal factors you're talking about, the game changes. And that's why you're seeing in both Nimba and you're seeing in both Lofa. Let me tell you, Lofa County has always voted for the government, a government. They are traditional people to a government, what the government does. In 2017, Lofa County Unity Party standard bearer was the government. Not only was he the son or the uncle of Lofa, that uncle was the government. So that explains the 77% vote he gets. He's not only the governor, he's not only our uncle, but he is also the government. And we have stood with governments. So nobody can, you repeat 2017 50 million times, you get that result you get because of those two factors. Our uncle is the government. Then now, our uncle becomes the opposition. And the Nimba the Lofa that has always gone with the government is seeing the development in Lofa. You listen to the program, you see Foya, you see the turnout, everybody saying Lofa gone blue. But those are the factors. The people are saying, okay, yeah, but first of all, our tradition is the government. It's not with opposition. Because what the people don't want is you vote against a sitting government, the government win. They don't want that. In that case, they had it because they were voting for the government, so you can't challenge them, and the government was their uncle and all that one. Fine. But in this case, the game has changed. The president has done development in these places. HO problems are being solved. And the people live and see it. Yeah, are we out of the HO problems such as? Yeah, the biggest thing in the place that come. Let me tell you, Lofa used to be the Lofa people are strong people. They're among the strongest people in the country. They fed this country for generations. That road, if that road opens up, you go to Lofa County, you say, listen, we don't care for all that you're doing. The day you finish the road, the party that finished that road, you get Lofa forever. You know what the other thing that is dynamic that the public needs to know? Who owns Lofa? Let me tell you. Let's see this. This is the point. No, hold on. This is the point I'm coming from. You brought in some factors. Let me tell you the factors that are playing. Sure. It's Joseph Boakai and Unity Party on one side. It's the children of Lofa County in the government on the other side. Now, let's say, now it's coming there. Who is around George Weah? Let's put Joseph Boakai. Let's put the influential people around the Unity Party government in the 12 years for Lofa. And let's put the influential people for Lofa around George Weah. Let's see who wins that battle. As a test of who owns Lofa or which party Lofa should be going to. Finabono. Let's see Yeke. Confeasible. Johnson Koji. Secretary General.
Moba Molu.
Maswa Kimea.
Thomas Fala. The president took a Lofa son and made him the senator from Sorbor County. Okay, let's go back to
Ellen Johnson.
The Boakai.
Gafwan became finance minister.
He was pushed out.
Later on became foreign affairs minister.
The Lofa County's influential son was pushed out. So who let Lofa?
He served his term.
He's there, but he
was in the government. So he became finance minister and later minister of foreign affairs.
Yeah. So
how was he pushed out? He made a personal decision. No problem. To contest for the presidency.
I'm talking about people who have influence over the running of the country. You have to.
Brandon Samuka served for 12.
That's right.
Uninterrupted.
That's right. But we're not talking only
the influential position.
Listen, we're not talking only the government position you're occupying. The influence you have in the cycle of power. The number of Lofa people, Thomas Fala, Sir Joseph, Jefferson Koji, Finabono, the influence, the will you compare it to Gafwan in our government. So if the Lofa people
are you assuming that Gafwan was less powerful compared to Finabono today?
What are you talking about? We're talking about the winners of power in the government for Lofa County. Now you can't compare with that. So now what the Lofa people see, they say, okay, if we vote for Joseph Boakai, chances are that we wish him well in health, everything, right? But he is the past actually, because at that age he will not be with all law. The whole thing will not be Lofa. If we vote for George Weah, then the Lofa children, the Jaseko boys, the Janga Kawah, they will remain influential in the government for a long time, and then Lofa County will get the best. That is what is at play. In addition to the development that you're talking about, so Lofa, my brother, Lofa will go blue.
So maybe the twist of it could be that the one who makes the decision is the president, and so when the president comes from Lofa County, he has the authority to make more of these decisions, as we are seeing reflecting in the president's decision today, where we
you're the finance minister from the southeast. You manage the fiscal affairs of the government. The central bank governor is from the southeast. He manages the monetary affairs of the government. And most of you guys that are wielding the influence in the government are from the southeast.
And the southeast got a lion's share relative to Numa and Lufa.
You tell me.
Oh no, you should tell me. You bring an argument.
Yeah, but I'm saying that such could be the reason why Lofa County will vote for Ambassador Buckeye. Because they think that he will have the constitutional authority to make the decision.
That's the thing. The people living something now. Then you say Lofa people are practical people. They get now. Then you say the one we can. The one that then now and what they're talking about. They see Toronto, they see the president, they see the development. They see things in Nima County. That now. Thinking what the man will do, you don't know the future, you know now.
Okay, Mr. Minister, let me come in on this note. I know we're going to elections, and there are key indicators that the voters will be considering seriously, and to pay less attention to the figures and the different numbers. They'll be interested in what goes on their tables at the end of the day, and how it goes on their tables at the end of the day. This brings me to the first concern about your inability over the years to clearly say to Liberian people, we've been able to provide 15,000 jobs, 10,000 jobs, or 5,000 jobs within a period of 6 years. Your government cannot take credit for that. You cannot sit there as a Minister of Finance and tell us how many jobs you have provided under your PAPD. That's one. It's something I needed to speak to.
But listen, you asked this question 1 million times. We have provided a lot of jobs. Okay. The ability to count all the jobs requires a framework. And I told you, along with the World Bank and all of us, that's the reason why you don't see job in the macroeconomics of African countries. Because there is a debate about how you measure in all of that. It's not credible. You can't come up with data and then it gets challenged.
But they set targets.
No. The target we said, what was the target we said?
Your PAPD didn't set targets that within the completion of our 6 years, we want to live 1 million people out of poverty.
That's right. But
so at this point, you should be able to tell us how many persons you've lifted out of poverty.
Well, of course, we talk about presented that here the last time.
Yeah. Listen,
go to the World Bank.
You estimated around
not me estimated. Yeah. That the World Bank.
But when you say
to the World Bank,
this conversation won't minimize. Yeah. This conversation is still coming before you as a key point that your opposition guys are using. That's one. To the next thing I'd like to bring to your attention also is the Unity Party Stenable. It's key we talk about it. It is widely perceived that Mr. Blacker doesn't have money. The UP is broke. It is struggling. You are perceived to be the incumbent. Yeah. You have all the resources. You're still struggling. At the face of Blacker at the ballot.
What is called struggle? What you gauge for struggle?
The first measurement you used was to fill the ATS.
No, listen.
The Unity Party went to the ATS.
Hold on.
And this
you are struggling to determine who's winning the election. You, the media. I just told you I've done 10, 15, 20 polls. They are not. So do your own polling. You all go out there. We have 15 days to the election. You find resources. You send independent people in the poll. You call yourself together and tell the Liberian people what they are saying before the election.
But Mr. Minister,
you already know that we are winning the election.
You have lost opinion pool on a platform.
Those things are not opinion pool, man. You know what opinion pool is?
No, but these are facts. These that we consider.
No, not consider that.
How about think about the popular Mr. Minister?
You don't consider poll where EBC say your call, where I can say I call Fata. They're not poll there.
Those are voters.
No, they're not polling. One man for Fata.
So what do you consider poll? What comes from you?
What comes from what you call polling is that you put a group of people in who will go to a house that the polling will do.
How do people go?
No, randomly they go to an area and ask one person in the house. They don't ask 5 persons in the house. When you see a group of boys coming on the street, you go there, you ask one in that group. One of the 10, you ask one and you move to the next group. When you do that 1,000 times, the result you get will tell you how the election will go. When they have done that, and CDC is in the lead nationally by more than 10 points.
And a CDC man is the one sponsoring.
No CDC. I don't listen. You can't know that somebody who can remember fool myself.
No, Mr. Minister, that one is obvious that
you don't trust me. You conduct your polling coming out of here. The Frontpage Africa, the Julius, the Kawah Freedom. You'll find an independent firm. Let them do a scientific poll, not the thing we call radio, internet, web poll, voting, Let them go do randomization and see what the random population is. I do that all the time. The other day I drove from RC, I drove from R2 to STD. I put 2 clusters. I say, ask cluster. Not a group. You don't go to a table at the temple there. The people ran 91 clusters like that. The president came out 62.
Harmonization is still haunting you. Harmonization is still haunting you. Just the other day, I watched a video where some nurses were singing slogan. You harmonize our salary, we'll harmonize your vote. You harmonize our pay, we'll harmonize your vote, and all of that. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that these things will not play at the ballot box.
Listen,
I think people who salaries and harmonize, they will pay you back at the ballot box.
We did a polling among government workers, and we are winning government workers. Again, don't take my word for it. Go there. 15,000 government workers' salary were raised in this country. 15,000 human beings got a higher salary. I just told you supplementary teachers were placed on the payroll. They were not there. 3,000. And a lot of volunteer teachers were now on the payroll. The issue here is that the health workers, let me explain it to you now in simple English so people understand what this thing is. If you are being paid by the NGOs, by the partners, maybe you're not paying personal income tax, or you do the 10% rate, you know what the way the tax code say, you're not also paying social security deduction. So if you have 1 year contract, then you do 10%, right? If they pay, nobody taking 4% social deduction from you. So it was the case with these workers. Basically, they were outside the government net. So government were not taking anything from them. When you come into the government take 4% for your own retirement.
Really sorry, all of the workers of the 2000
all workers are paying social security.
No, I'm referencing the particular case you're referencing
because they were not on the government payroll. So 2,300 people were not paying taxes. Then the rest of government paying taxes. The people who are not paying taxes, when they enter the help, the government, they start paying. They start paying the personal income tax, and they start paying social security for their retirement. So the government takes 4% of your money every month and say, when you get old, we give you the money here. That is not a tax. That's for you to play for your end of life when you're living. So people consider that to be cut. Now I'm telling the Liberian people now, if somebody will not taking something for you, but you come into the government, and in the government, we pay taxes when the government take out taxes. When they take out the tax, is that a cut? It's not a cut because you are not being paid by the government. The first thing is that they came on the payroll, so they got to clap for the president for putting on the payroll.
There is an issue of communication within these ministries and agencies. It is possible that people are not getting these.
It's quite possible. We have done a lot. Let me tell Francis, we have done a lot of information on the whole harmonization thing here. Obviously, people want to politicize the thing, but we know we got it. We got the facts. No health worker pay was cut. If you're saying that we put 2,300 health workers and we're not taking social security from them, that is not possible, because to get on government payroll, we are the ones who are making sure that everybody contributes to 4%. If you're considering that 4% as a cut, because it was not happening before, we are saying we are taking care of your future because that's the law. So that's the pension law. That's the social security.
What about over 6,000 people that were still below the minimum wage at the end of the harmonization process?
We have brought everybody now to minimum wage. So our government,
why didn't you capture it in the first place?
Resource implication. There are too many challenges. We're doing roads, we're doing this. You got to find money from it.
So you left them out. They were the sacrificial lamb.
No, 15,000 people got a higher salary.
Yeah, but 6,000 people went below the minimum wage.
No. They were there and were managing. We didn't have the fiscal space at the time. Now we have the fiscal space. We are taking care of all of
the essence of the harmonization.
Let's go back to the health workers now. There's a validation going on pertaining to the health workers here who came on the payroll. But in the next year budget, CSA, the Ministry of Finance, and all the stakeholders are working on this situation. But what has to be clear here is that government are cutting nobody. If you're getting deduction from Social Security, that is not a tax. That's your own money that will be given back to you when you turn 65, 70-year-old.
And this begins with the consent. You have raised an issue which I like to pick in from as well. Mr. Minister, it was very embarrassing and in my mind extremely disgraceful to have seen after 3 years the employees of the Ministry of Information that are supposed to be the one communicating the interpretation of what you meant, what the harmonization meant. They were seen with placards protesting for increment. They said the salaries were low. I found that very embarrassing and disturbing for the government. Now, that was 3 years after the harmonization process. That's just Ministry of Information thing. Whether progress has been made, I'm told progress has been made. Just entering here, we saw people outside the EFBC fence again, protesting for some benefits from the Ministry of US posting. What is happening in 15, 13 days to election?
Let me tell you more. Timber workers say the government owed them 8 million. They came to my house. They just said they protested 8 million from the last government. Timber workers. They say the government owed them. The people who send out place the United Party government broke down. We just paid them 2 million. The president just paid them 2 million. They just said they've been protesting, pressing. They said they need $6 million. The land was taken from them. You want me to list the monstrosity of the legacy of failure that we have?
And then this is why we should now go to the challenges of the government.
So listen, so the question is, it's a challenging landscape that we are solving. Okay, harmonization never told you we don't have the resources to carry people where they need to be. It's not possible. If you did that, you collapse the country. You can't. You don't have the bill. Listen, the wage bill grew from 109 million to nearly 300 million under the United Party, 290 by the time United Party left. So every year the wage bill was growing, and they say investors will come in the country. If you look at the wage bill here, I would say under the IMF program, it's flat. Yeah. When the CDC came, we put health workers on the payroll, but it's been flat ever since, and we're holding it because technically you cannot continue to find money to develop the country.
Minister Tweah,
to develop the country. So people
moments ago, you stated that no health workers' pay or salary were cut. Why will they come out protesting or singing like my colleague stated here, you harmonize our pay, we harmonize your
politicians will play with some people. They'll leave that one there. Politicians will play with people. I'm just telling you, what is being taken from them is their personal income tax and their social security 4%. That all Liberians are paying for their retirement, 4%. But there are challenges. Liberians are also paying personal income tax.
You are taking to the ballot box.
Nobody.
These challenges, Mr. Minister. I was driving coming here, and I passed before the NTA, National Transit Authority, and I saw the gate locked. And I asked a colleague in the car why. He said the National Transit Authority owe a contractor, and the contractor went to court, and the court came and locked a government entity that is still locked as I speak. These are disturbing news that you are taking to the ballot box. Do you think the employees at NTA will feel satisfied and go in 13 days, go to election and vote you to retain you when their offices are locked? Do you think the employees at Water and Sewer that are not taking pay for 5 months, 6 months, who go to the ballot box and re-elect you who refuse to pay them for the past 5, 6 months?
That's not true.
These are issues that are confronting you that you will have to pay.
Because minister is good to provide.
No, that is not true, because those same workers will say, we are the ones who are supposed to be raising revenue to pay ourselves, but we thank God that the Ministry of Finance has been the one paying us, even though we are a revenue generating entity for the past 4 years. So if the government goes behind 1 month, even though they're not supposed to be paying us, we're working hard to raise revenue to pay ourselves, we gotta be grateful that the government is sending us this transfer. So that's the story. Mr. Minister, we are not supposed to be paying them, we paying them. So you have a government that has
you might just be encouraging laziness.
No, listen, but you don't. When you ask the question about why people are not happy, that's the encouragement for laziness, because then you are telling the people, all of you who in the private sector, all of them are going to sit down to the Ministry of Finance for you to get, when the 300 or the 700 million budget, they put 500 million, you just be paying, and let's leave development, let's leave CLSG, let's leave election.
We pay debt.
We spend 60 million, $50 million to hold the election.
The point I'm making is,
what you get money for?
The president.
What you will get it for? Who got money for the PS3 tuition?
Means that no, we have to go back to this. The point of these challenges. The point I'm making is, person will speak about the challenges confronting you. You have not addressed adequately the concerns raised about the National Transit Authority. You have a government entity that is locked down, Mr. Minister, because you are indebted to a contractor.
No, listen. The court process of the domestic debt situation is another thing. Not bringing.
But how can these things happen, Mr. Minister?
Listen, you know how many people the government owe?
Mr. Minister, the United Party headquarters was shut down because the old rain. We politicized it and ran all around it. Today, a government entity is shut down because you owe them. And you say, I quote from formalities, we shouldn't go into it.
When the court issue an order, even me here, you know, the program, the Ministry of Finance, government owe people. Domestic debt audit was just done. You know how many $100 million people from Tweah Jr. around town say government owe them? They go to the court say what they call it. You think we get our total debt stock at $2 billion?
But yes, we'll be able to
domestic debt around $6.7 million. You think we get money to pay all the debt?
Saw this rain to them.
But that's why I'm telling you, we have stabilized. We're solving that. I just saw we are the ones who are paying domestic debt. Black guy never paid domestic debt. He paid, I think, $0 in 2013, $0. In 2014, $0. I think in 2015, at least they
negotiated the relief of foreign debt.
The debt profile history. We are the ones that started paying all the banks, everybody that owe in this country.
You should be a member of the board of the National Transit Authority.
Yeah.
Member of the board. So how do we get to the
National Transit Authority? Because the entity is being paid by the Ministry of Finance.
No, that's not the real issue. The real issue is to even be a member of the board and reach a point where a government entity will be shut down.
That's the administrator of the entity. How are you paying the people? I'm not Minister of Finance question there.
No. You're the Minister of Finance.
I am not the minister. I don't run LWSC. I don't run National Transit Authority.
I saw portion of the LWSC.
I pay them and I push them, give them money to go do the thing. Their administrative issues, they have to handle.
Are you not sensing issue about competence here? Because these are issues. The people you have residing over those entities.
You are a journalist. Call the heads of the entities.
You are a member of the board of the entities.
I just tell you, I provide resources to the entities.
So why is the board paying the entity?
You also provide administrative guidance for the entities. That's why we're so concerned about how this institution moved from a functioning institution to being literally moribund. How did it happen?
How did it happen?
The institution is literally dead.
Okay, listen.
It's dysfunctional.
There may be governance challenges there. We're looking at it. The head of the entity.
If he's incompetent,
question.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that the workers who are there, even though we see the situation with LWSC, they should be raising money. The government has stepped in. You know how many entities around here, including RIA or the government Ministry of Finance, should not be paying? We're stepping in to cover that. So we're dealing with all those issues. But at the end of the day, we fix them.
Okay, so now again, it is important for us to quantify what your challenges are. It seems, it appears to me that you may be taking more challenges to the ballot box than successes.
No, we're taking more. That's why we're leading the polls. We're taking more successes. That's why I say, hold on. What are the key challenges? These difficult conversations we're having is because you guys have not assessed what the Brent people are going to do. The day you assess it, then the question will be, okay, but I thought the people, they all going to protest here, but it looks like the people appreciate the president. That would be the narrative. That's the narrative we know. We are taking more development successes than challenges. The country is a challenged country. Everybody in the country sits and wait for the government. That's the country we have had. That's the reason why we grew the payroll from $100 million in 2010 to $300 million in 2017. You think why? Why was the payroll going up every year? 150, 200. Why are we adding $30 million every year to the payroll? If the private sector were vibrant and people were having jobs, why were people coming to the government? So the government is the biggest employer. The government is supposed to solve everybody's problem. That is the country we inherited. We are turning that country around. We are turning that situation around where we say, no, listen, we stabilize the payroll because technically you can't go from 300, go to 400, go to 500. We need about 100. We need to invest about $100 million every year in roads. Okay, we're looking. So we are saying stabilize the payroll, move into many other spheres. Electricity, you got to continue to carry 2 million people to electricity. You need zero investment for electricity infrastructure. You don't have that space. You're paying for election, so you're balancing too many balls. At the same time, you're cleaning up here. To the extent that there are heads of entities and institutions that should be doing the work, as an honest conversation we have, everybody who has an entity has to be responsible and accountable to head an entity, make it a viable entity. That's right.
But then this brings in the governance issues. Because if, for example, Austin is talking about what's happening at MTA, at WSC, and some other areas, which are supposed to generate revenue, and they are not generating the revenue, and the government, the central administration has to come in to provide some help. It is an issue of governance. It is an issue of efficiency or inefficiency. And why is it the appointed authority? Why isn't the president taking the kinds of actions he should be taking at those entities? There are a whole lot of librarians that can head those places. Why do you still have inefficient people running places that the government has to help them? Like they could just be dismissed by a stroke of the pen from the president.
Listen, there was a change of management at LWSC quite recently.
MTA.
Change of LWSC. Not LWSC, there was a change of management at LWSC. That management is looking to move the entity forward. So the arrears government have come down. There are some structural challenges regarding LWSC that work. So for which the government said, no, why are you dealing with the structural challenges? We handle some of the things that you handle. But in the meantime, so move fast, move fast. NTA, there were buses that were procured. They've been pushing, the government supported that entity, put a lot of buses up. We've provided no resources to keep the buses running. In terms of his question about why NTA owing somebody and they didn't pay that, they didn't have the money shut down. Yeah, well, I mean, the court has issued things to the Ministry of Finance. Yeah. So that one, the court's clearing everything. So I run away from the people's stuff. But to be honest, I just saying they send something, I run away, somewhere go there. It's a government business. People owe, they go to sue the judge, they pay the money. Whether they get it, I want to pay. So we negotiate with that. It's a court order. We even subjected the court order to domestic audit. Some of the court orders say, even with a court, without just break them, the GSC still audit all these claims. We're solving these problems. We have now recognized all the people we owe for the first time. And we have done a clean list by Jason to say, we negotiate with you and we'll start paying you.
No. So, wait. He hasn't addressed that question. No. He was complaining the other time that certain ministers or agencies were not even sending in reports, fiscal performance reports, and all those kinds of things. And that he will even be holding on to people's pay according to what the law says.
That's correct.
My question is, what do you all say to the president about non-performers in the government that keep bringing the government's image to public disrepute? Why doesn't the president dismiss these people to send a message and bring in others? This country isn't bereft of brains to occupy those places.
This country was in a situation where the General Auditing Commission under the Barker administration used to go audit, and they can't do any audit because there is no financial report. That's where we came from. So there is no transparency, no reporting or anything. So the auditor disclaimed. That's the worst form of audit. When the auditor say, I can't do anything because they don't even get information of that the regime we came from. Then we came to a regime where we started providing all the financial report. Now we're not where we are. We have improved the financial reporting, for which the auditor say, okay, no longer disclaiming, but moving from adverse opinion to unqualified opinion. The last audit of the consolidated account was unqualified opinion for the first time ever. We moved. So in terms of governance, you can see the steps we are making there. The IAA moving and ensuring accountability. Steps are being taken to ensure the fight against corruption and to move in the area. Will there be issues as we move forward? Of course, there will be issues in any country. There will be issues of incompetence here and there. But the system as a whole, under our administration, we are providing more. Let me tell you, go to the Ministry of Finance website. Every week, we send the fiscal data to the IMF. We're probably the only country in the world doing that. Before we did that, the last IMF mission told us, he said, "We sure this is going to be very intrusive. You mean the IMF is going to be in your bedroom?"
It brings me to a point.
There is still that question about this NTA man, for an example, went before the legislature and he fumbled. There are ministries and agencies in this government here that are not performing well. And you are aware, the president is aware. Why? It is a simple action to just remove those people and put other people there. Why don't you recommend it?
Listen. The question can be, the president fired that person. We're going to look at the system as a whole. I'm explaining to you that systems have improved.
That is not true because hold on, because the MCC scorecard that measures performance in government under the indicator government efficiency, your government, including from the United Party government to moving the school, your time, all of you have
let's look at that particular indicator. Go back to that indicator and see who has done better.
In terms of what?
No, in terms of, you say all of it.
Yeah, you're fair.
Some poor fair 50, some poor fair 65. So you taking pride video? No. Question, no. The Bureau has not passed the government effective indicator. It says something about all as a people. I've said that on other shows, right? Fine. The fact that we for 15 years we want us to we pass government effective there, it means our systems are challenged.
And these are the indicators. These are the reasons why we're not passing.
But we are getting closer to the mark when you judge us relevant. We are getting closer there. We are taking strong steps. The president just signed the law and the Anti-Corruption Commission, where he himself does not have the power to dismiss the commissioners. And they have to be voted up and down by the Senate to get removed. That is extreme independence.
And so, Mr. Minister, significant reform in 2019, the U.S. Department of Treasury issued a fiscal transparency report that gave a passing mark to Sierra Leone, to Guinea, and to Ivory Coast, and Liberia received in 2019.
Okay, I think it's only in 2023.
In 2019.
Are you talking about it as well?
I'm coming to it.
No, but you have started.
I'm coming.
2019. You're coming. 2019 for this government.
I'm coming to a point. And in the second quarter of the 2023 national budget implementation, the president wrote a communication to the legislature informing it about the disruption in global supply chain caused by the Russian-Ukraine crisis, and Liberia being an import economy will suffer that, and that could take a toll on domestic revenue generation, which could shrink by $27 million. And so he was asking for a recast of the budget, and that budget went before the legislature. It was rectified, it was approved by the legislature, but to date, we have only seen the abridged version of the budget being placed on the Finance Ministry website, and not the detailed version of the budget being placed on the Finance Minister website. Now, for you as a minister, bearing in mind how this could have a reputational consequence on you as a minister, and perhaps lend the budget to public to lack of credibility and transparency.
Yeah, I just told you. You talk about budget. The money we spend every week, we send it to the public. We publish it there. Go there.
But why isn't the detailed version of the recap budget placed on the Finance Ministry website? That's enhancing fiscal transparency.
The budget is there. When we recast the budget, they don't go and do that. That has been a tradition. The information, the summaries are there. That's a budget document. Forget budget. I'm telling you, when we spend $50 here on hospital, when the government spending every week, we put it on the website for you to go and see it. Now that budget, that one actual spending, but it's sent to the IMF.
It takes away nothing if you do a publication of the detailed version of the budget.
It's publicly. It should be.
Where is it? Because I cannot find it on the Finance Ministry's website.
You gotta check because
the website has been recast.
The budget recast is just moving money from one line and moving it to another line. That's why it's in the system.
Sure.
Okay, that's it. Moving one money for maybe you give $50 million, $50 to this person, and then in the recast time, then I have $15, you take $15. That's it. That's so the public has to know. Okay,
public has to know
on the website and see how much money the government is spending, who is spending. It's on the Ministry of Finance.
In the first place, it is important to know how those priorities are arranged in the budget, because the budget is the singular most powerful instrument that defines the overall objective of a given government. And so, if you do recast of the budget based on some prevailing challenges that you cannot control, someone wants to know how are the priorities rearranged and how are the spending going on. So it is important to post that particular one on the Finance Ministry's website.
Check. All Ministry of Finance has nothing to hide. That's why I told you.
Okay, in that case,
you send all fiscal data to the IMF, to the public.
In that case, do you now have an unabridged listing of the debtors? Is that the right thing?
Yeah.
Of the people that the government owes?
Oh, of course, the people who pay money to. Yes, there's an unabridged list of all the people the government owes.
Where is it? It is not on your website.
You're talking about the domestic audit?
Yeah. The domestic debt listing.
Oh, of course, it's available. Who all the government abroad owing for 1950?
Yeah, where is it?
It should be on your website.
Where is it? But it's not on your website.
There's an audit report on who all the government owing. You go on the GSC website. It's on the Ministry of Finance website.
Let's check it.
The audit report that was shown by the GSC is a public document.
It's not on your website.
It's not on my website.
Because I checked.
You got to check, man.
So it's not on your website. So if your media people are listening, you need to tell them to upload that report if you want it to be uploaded because it's not there. No, at least I see your people right, so they can do the research and see.
Listen, but it's not the JC audited the entire thing. That means if Julius just believe the government owing him, Julius will write a JC say, please look at my debt. The government owing me $100,000 pay me for 5 years, 10 years. The JC will that listing of all the things. It's there. It's available.
October 10 is election day. Yeah. Is it possible that you will pay government people for October before election day?
I mean, government won't pay right now.
That's for September. I mean, it's not possible to make the people smile before election day.
All people will be going to firework.
That's the ballot beginning of the month.
Now, Mr. Minister, let me come in. We are looking at the performance of this government. We'll be going to election, like my colleague said, on the 10th of October.
Yeah.
You designed your PAPD basically to reduce poverty amongst our people, to affect their lives, to improve their lives.
That's correct.
Now, if you were to just catalog or give us an idea of how you've done it over the last 5 years plus, do you care to?
I did say that on the last time I shared.
Yes.
The poverty trend was increasing. The president inherited 2.1 million Liberians living in extreme poverty. That was our inheritance. 2.1 million Liberians in extreme poverty. I didn't do the analysis. It's the World Bank that did the analysis. Then we show the effort we've been making to stabilize that. We've been in an extremely difficult situation. Macro shock, COVID-19, Ukraine. COVID put 100 million people into poverty globally. Africa's share of that 100 million people is around maybe 50 million or so went into poverty. Liberia's share of that Africa share is about 200,000 people, 10 SKD. A global impact of poverty. What are you talking about? Those are the shocks that we've been dealing with. The issue here now is that where the World Bank report goes is look, if the government stabilizes at this rate we are going, you're going to see significant reduction. So the poverty curve is moving up. We get there, it gets challenged, it moves little, then it stabilizes going down. As we are going to election, the poverty trend, when you look at the numbers now, is going down. The trend, I'm not saying people have the trend. What you look for is the trend. When the Union Party was seeking the third term, the trend was going up. When Brunswick is seeking his second term, the trend is stabilized and it's going on. That's not my.
Now, how do you explain that to Mr. Minister? How do you explain that to Mamusu deep into Ground Cape Mount, Majwadi deep into Sando County or Grand Crew to understand why you're talking about the trend going down?
The way I explain that is that the government has done a lot to put money into the pocket of the Liberian people. Okay. How I explain it to her. That's how you see that. How have we done to put money in the president and the government don't want the Liberian people to spend more, so we use government policy to influence some of that. The president announced when he came to power that the price of rice was not going up. You know what took the price of rice up? That COVID and Ukraine. So for the 4 years before COVID and Ukraine, the president locked the price down, even though the pricing ceremony were free on market forces. Now we go to market forces because we don't have the money to do that kind of heavy lifting. So that's bread and butter issue. When the Liberian people are not paying hard for rice because of a government policy, that shows that the president cares about the people. When the cost of electricity drops from $90 for a 2,000 watt capacity on Joseph Braga to $35, $40 on George Weah, that's money that people are now using to pay LEC that they could use for their children's school fee and for other things. That's a cost of living thing. So it shows that it's a bread and butter issue. When university students are no longer paying fees, tuition. When high school students, 207,000 high school students for the last 5 years. When they are not paid, their parents appreciate that. That's why the little boy, was a boy, Gary Lufa, said yesterday that, we're going to carry you back because of these proactive pro policies that you have enacted. Sure. So it shows that we are concerned about the living condition. When the agriculture ministry is not giving $35 million to smallholder farmers Okay, direct intervention, when people are receiving this money to expand their farm through the agriculture ministry, through the World Bank, that is showing that the president cares about the cost of living. So how come we do all these stuff in a difficult environment and you say we don't care? What was happening under the former government is that they were not doing any of these things because an NGO can bring money and pay people. When UNMEL come in the money and hire people, then they say they get job. But when UNMEL leave and lay the people off and they start producing, then the job finish. They're not UNMEL jobs are not jobs for the economy. We have to generate our real jobs. NGO jobs will come during emergency. They hire people and they say, oh, no. Yeah? All the free things were coming. When the free money were coming, when the UNMEL talking about say, I want money with the poor money leaving the country. All the free money that came, why it will go on fat salary. What was the have you asked what was the highest salary under the government and what is the highest salary under the president? The highest salary was about 25,000. The highest salary of the government figure like 5,600 for a minister. Let me tell you, the president cut his own salary when the first day the partners told him, say, we don't have money, so take over your 2,000 or 3,000, we have workers. The president said to find money, we got to start with our set. We call that one the pro cut. That's how he said we cut my salary by 25%. Then we did a 13% cut across. We had to come back again. Another cut. I had government ministers at 5,600. Consultants were making $15,000 in a country where immigration people on the bracket were making $45 a month. You're not seeing government there. People were making free year $15,000, $25,000 a month. And you say that party will come bring back to power. Then I bring both say you know that when they're not doing. And that's why we know. So I'm encouraging you all to go do your polling. We know the people are already saying that they will put the president back. So this false narrative here, this false narrative that UP is bringing that if they don't win the election, they mean they were cheated. It's false because the only thing that will expose that narrative is when you conduct your scientific polling. You call Gallup, let us say consultant and help you're the media people. Then you will show the polling before the election. Then you will say, oh, there are people are nailing the judgment.
So on the account of free, fair, and transparent elections. Yeah. What are the measures being put in place by the government to ensure that the election is not just seen to be free, fair, and transparent, but that it is actually free, fair, and transparent?
Credible as well.
Credible.
The only guarantor of a free, fair, transparent election is a system that we have established over the last 15 or 20 years in electioneering in Liberia, where every party has equal chance of being represented at the poll. Nobody stops a political party from going. Now, in other countries, where the poll checking the ballot on the table, then they representing them way behind there, and they're looking like, no. When I was an observer, they showed me the ballot. I was observing that time for Unity Party. See, MPP. I was there. So right there, when Taylor won, I was losing. I was shocked. I said, what? So the people voted for Taylor? But that was the verdict. What could I do about it? Nothing. The Liberian people voted away. Since that, I then began to trust the system that we have in the country. Okay. So the only guarantee is let everybody invest in. Now, what I'm saying is that some people may not have the time to send somebody way beyond Betu, where you got to cross the water. Those places there, the total vote nationally will not pass 10%. The 75% of the vote, 75% that GDA gives him, that Topman, that Ganta, that Ganta City Hall, where the voting, voting happening in Ghana, and the Hapo, that the places where people go play by everybody can get you there. So you even get money to eat, so you can sit down that day from 6 o'clock until the election finish. You'll be in Apple, you will get your tally sheet. But let the parties put all their tally sheets together. You, the media, get putting the responsibility on you. Because you're asking freedom and fairness when it is in your hand. If you develop a system that is able to call 70% of the results immediately, from Montreal, from Banga, from Hapo, if you have that system, position, make the investment, then you will be the guarantor of a free, fair, transparent. Now, the people
please, one more thing on that. Something else that has to do with free, fair, transparent election is the funding. Recently, there was an issue about if the election goes to a second round, the possibility of funding.
There is no possibility of funding our election. Let me tell you something. The number one priority this year is to hold elections, because our legitimacy as a government rests on the holding of election. That is why, for the first time, long before the holding of election, all NEC money, short of $3 million, was transferred to them. Do you know what that means? NEC has never had the opportunity where you take 30, 40 million, give it to them, and they be sitting on there and do running election. It never happened in the country. Never. They've been doing it small. It was that huge transfer that affected the government cash flow. Even on salary. The president said, you are illegitimate as a government if the election is not held on October 10. So the first priority, the first clean right now, the law said the first clean that public debt. I tell the IMF people today, the first clean for all resources, the National Election Commission. When we finish the election, we'll go back to we
got that possibility of
there is no threat to the holding of election financially. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, possible. Now, some of the reasons why you found people having this sense of skepticism about the free, fair, and transparent conduct of the election is based on the startling revelations from the National Elections Commission. If you followed the deduplication process in the press conference that was conducted by Director Brown Lanson and the head of the National Elections Commission, she explained that over 27,000 persons double registered. And that was as a result of 3,634 persons that caused the 27,000 double registration. So if you work the maths, you realize that even if each of those persons register about 7 times, the number will still be at around 25,000. This is not possible for 3,634 persons to cause 27,000 double registrations. So those are things that people are looking at to say that there may be foul play. And in the eventuality that there's a foul play, we are not going to accept the result. They are casting aspersion over the credibility of the process. So what assurance can you give the public, regardless of all of these startling revelations, that the process will still remain credible and the collective decision of the people will be reflected at the polls?
When election observers look at election system and they talk about threats to the system, they look at the numbers. Now, any election will tell you, well, there are one or two things happening here. The way they ask you to say, the number you call is 1.1% of the 2.4 million registered voters. 1.1%. What you're saying, this 1.1%, right? 1.1%. Next year, they'll clean it up all that one. But I'm just telling you, 1.1%.
Yeah, my view is significant, but it's very important.
The bulk of the election. So, there have been recounts, for example, in recounts where one candidate win by 1,000. Yeah, then you see some instances, okay, you gave the 200 vote, this. When you see the poll where they say, yeah, we saw 2 observed, but there is no material consequence to affect the outcome of the election. The election will be deemed credible, fair. Nobody tell you, say, okay, somebody want to vote, they allow them to vote. That one man allow them to vote. He go on the radio, he say, I want to vote. There was no issue. The election are free and fair. That just because that one man, an observer, say, okay, send a man vote. You want the BBC, so it means that the election are free and fair. But there may be many instances in an election. NEC will be executing the law the way it's supposed to. A citizen could not understand it and can go to the radio. So you got to prepare for all of that stuff.
Now, sir, you know, Mr. We are better than all of us here. If Liberians go to the polls to October 10 and vote him out, is he someone that will accept that he is voted out and leave the presidency, hand the country over democratically?
The George Weah that sat down in Ellen Johnson's inauguration is the same George Weah that's president today.
He has not changed.
He has not changed. George Weah doesn't change. But George Weah that said, did not graduate from high school, facing high school voters who will say, oh, but the president finished high school, then how am I supposed to vote for him? That is George Weah.
Now, Mr. Minister,
no, but you still allow them to compete. These are important questions. Because people say, oh, the man wants to hold to power.
Transparent election. The George Weah that went to referendum to bring the power down from 6 years to 5 years, that the George wasn't there. Okay. The George Weah knows, and that's why I'm saying, I'm not waiting. We are in the street. We are testing every nook and cranny of this country to know where the people saying the overwhelming verdict right now. The real debate here in this question here is not whether the president we are winning. It's whether is he winning first or second round. That is the debate. For all the things we know, the debate is that can he win the first round or can he win even the national poll?
There is another debate that he will be voted out. So it is that debate question that I am asking you. That debate that suffices that he's voted out.
Debate is
he going to party?
No, that debate not possible because the polling we showing today all sides, not just me. And you gotta do it so you can know it too, you can see it. You gotta do your own, you can see it. So you can say, okay, but then no, George Weah will win election.
That the narrative, the people don't want the narrative to be that John Weah winning the election because they have run propaganda for the last 4 or 5 years, and that propaganda has now collapsed. So since the propaganda has collapsed, what you're hearing now is Prince Johnson calling people begging not to be disgraced. What you're hearing is Barker saying the country will end the election. You say rescue soldiers. You got all kind of don't try it. All those fake stuff they already know. They have done their polling.
To this point, Mr. Nelson, let me take you.
After this, because I have a follow up. If we want to
outside this,
you want to go outside this? Let me just do my follow up.
No, I'm not going outside of it. It has to do with the threats issued by Joseph Boakai, Prince Johnson, and the other. Is the government making any representation to the international partners about Joseph Boakai ending the country if he does not win? All of those those are very vile, grave statements. Is the government making any representation with the international partners to call them? Because it has to do with the signing of the Farmington Agreement. We're talking about free, fair, transparent elections. They will have representations at the polling places, at the counting of the ballots, and all of that. And coming up to at the end of the process, to not accept a result because they have lost the election, and begin to fight or cause chaos in the country. We saw the importation of guns being arrested in Lofa. Some of their actors, key players, have been seen with guns. What is the government doing?
Well, what I can tell you is that the international community is gravely concerned about these developments. We know diplomatically that they are concerned. The government is making the necessary representation. But look, we at the government have managed this country with our own meal, with our own resources over the last 5 years. We've kept the peace. We are the government that have gone to elections under the current system and lost elections. The 2020 Montserrat race, we lost it.
We accepted the
result. We are the government that were in opposition that accepted results in 2005 and 2011.
Yeah.
Not only we accepted, we worked to stabilize the peace. Our ambassador, our stand-up bearer, work for peace. We are the government. We are the government. When we took power, these people created propaganda, fake news to damage the image of the country because they were still angry that they lost election. They did not want us to govern. We are the government. They said we're going to fail the country. We're not going to be able to pay salary in 6 months. We have sustained the macro, and we've gotten praise from the International Monetary Fund. Yeah. And every time the IMF praises us and the World Bank praises us, they get vexed. They were doing World Bank report in 2019. Now they run away from World Bank report. Now you don't hear any of the analysts ever mention the IMF again. They say, to the extent they say, oh, the IMF in bed with you. The IMF in bed with nobody. But the IMF recognizes the gains that we have made. The world recognizes. You talk about 2019 Treasury report. You didn't go to the 2023. So go there and see them praising the government. 2019 is a year where we began into the IMF program, is a year where we have major shocks in the country. Major shocks. This is a government that inherited a reserve. The Union Party drew the country reserve from 343 and carried it to around 110 million. We took that reserve of 110 million, we got it down to around 600 million or $660 million. That the government here, so today, that the government here. So the government here has stabilized everything that it turned around. Then they coming back and say that it messed up. We turn around that. Then they coming back and say the one can't sit down. To do what?
That one begin very.
The mess. That one make it very. So like brave people, say make it very.
But yes, there's something I want to run by you now. I listened to an exchange between the campaign manager for the CDC and the senator of Nima County on the VOA. But particularly, I'm interested in the assertions made by the senator. Mm-hmm. It was clear that you, the CDC, started this entire thing about instigating violence and threats against opposition leaders.
Who? The senator?
You, the CDC, the senator.
Okay.
He said that the NPP talks, unquote, at his church and disrupted his church service. He said that he received threats and raised alarms that your government was after him to kill him, and he raised an alarm on the same VOA, and your government has not done anything to assure his safety. So probably in reaction to all of those threats, he has his own obligation to ensure that his safety is protected. So he too is coming back to show that he's a man. Now, I know that you're not a security man, but at what point do you think your government or the national security people are supposed to consider utterances, the issue of national security, to call people in for maybe questioning and all of that? At what point do you think NSA or the national security will say, hey, Senator Johnson, hey, Mr. This, we have to come and let's clarify certain things?
Well, I think the national security has responded to that. I think the national security agencies, infrastructure, are fully on top of any threats, any perceived threats to the sanity and the safety of our people in our country.
During the very slow and weak, I remember during the by-election, there were two utterances that were made. Your government didn't do anything. For example, Mr. Moari said, hey, if the National Elections Commission does not declare Barney Samuka winner, there will be unspecified consequences. Yeah. The next day, we saw petrol bomb thrown into the headquarters of the National Elections Commission. Your government didn't do anything.
We don't run
now. I hear you and see you complaining about statements coming from Rodney, the other person complaining now. We didn't take action then.
The end of the country. Listen, you have to choose sometimes between. There are reckless statements that can be made. We're a democratic state. People like to say fledgling. I don't think we're a fledgling democracy. We're strong. We're not a police state where every statement is cross-examined, everybody looking over the shoulder. So citizens are free to talk. Political actors, so we stretch that boundary of freedom and let the recklessness be exposed by the extremity of the recklessness will be viewed by the Liberian people. So it's not everything that you can say, and not everything somebody say, we say, oh, the government. So in that case, you say, oh, the government witch hunting. Sometimes there are boundaries of free speech. People can go excess. Fine. But when that boundary goes down to the point where you think it's talking about ending the country, then that now raises the eyebrow. So yes, you are right. There may be reckless statements in the past. The government may have been slow. It's not because it doesn't. It's because it wants to be perceived as democratic, as holding the democracy.
Mr. Minister, I want to agree with you. Now, here's the thing. We sat here, Mr. Kawah brought in baton. In fact, he announced it and he brought the batons in. He announced that he was bringing in a military opposition defense thing. He did that in your face. He organized the opposition defense thing in your face. That's right. He announced or threatened that he will go to the bush or the bushes. He didn't do it. BK was a former warlord. You're taking Boneke who a former warlord seriously. Mr. Braga does not have any reliable history of engaging into
about people who have reliable history.
But you ignored Yeke yesterday.
No, we didn't ignore.
You ignored Prince Johnson yesterday.
No, we didn't ignore.
Why are you concerned Mr. Braga?
To tell you the government does quite. It's not everything the government does that come to the public.
Do you really think Mr. Braga has the capacity to end this country?
Listen, there are people who believe that if the Unity Party, because the Unity Party will not win the next election, for them, they think that's the end of it. And so, since they are ending politically in their imagination, the country must end too. There are people who, after we won, who said, since the Unity Party out of power, we should do everything to disrupt government so the country can collapse so John can leave power. They did not want to see the first 6 years. So they did not want to see the first 6 years. They did not want to see 12 years.
I know somebody wants to go to the lines. But
allow me to put this question.
You're the Minister of Finance and Development Planning. The 2023 reports from the IMF, the World Bank, the African Development Bank put the growth of the economy to around 4.3% in this year, possible 5% in next year. There are some structural issues that decide there. There's also the issue of getting rice right. What were you able to do to achieve these figures, and how can you assure Liberians that despite the election that this kind of growth is going to continue?
Look, what we've been able to do is a miracle under the president. So that's where my respect for the president grows every day I see him, because what he was able to do here in the last 4 years with the turbulence is remarkable. It's almost like a miracle. I mean, it wasn't easy. In 2019, you were there. What the president done was to impose discipline on the country that had been reckless. The country had been taking public money and doing anything with it where I had no structure, where I had no design. That's why the president brought order to the system. And the symbolism of that order is that he said, I will cut my salary first. So the first shot there across the bow. Let me cut my salary. Because right now, the people are put here working on the payroll. and we get the money. So let's start with ourselves first. Let everybody stop this scratch card spoiling, gas slip spoiling in government people pocket. That one usually happen for common. When you look at the bill on the fuel expenditure from 2013 all the way every year, 17 million. When you look at CDC town, the fuel bill dropped to 5 million. We make government stingy tight so that the money goes to the ordinary people. Travel from $10 million, travel comes to $3 million. That other $7 million, where you going? But how you pay the community road? So everybody traveling.
You said, Minister Tweah, this is a second time.
No. This is then they get into the back then how we have to explain. So people, this president was a president who say he know anything, he know run the country. How come now all the numbers? That's why you're saying 4% growth, 5% growth. Now, when you talk about poverty, when you sustain that growth, the poverty index comes down. That's it. That's the issue. The reason why we have poverty difficulty is that our growth at 1%, we bull all that one. We sustain a 5, 6, 7% growth over the medium term next 5 years. Of course, we will then poverty significantly in the country. All right. And the man who laid the foundation, who overturned the macro, turning everything around, stabilized government finances, where government revenue is going up now. Before we were depending on more donor revenue, donor money. Now we depending on ourselves. We won't move from collecting 570. We won't go to 670 to 700 domestically. And this is where we put the money that it comes to $1 billion. That's where we are going.
This is where I'm coming, Mr. Minister, because you have mentioned for the second time that you guys had to discipline yourself, and the president took the initiative to personally cut his salary.
Yeah.
But how substantially different that is when you cut the president's salary on one hand, and on another hand, you are appropriating $10 million to the president's office for county tour.
Listen,
what's the significant difference?
County tour project, the difference is that county tour project.
So you cut my salary and give me $10 million.
County tour projects are going to the people. The president takes the money and put it in the hand of the people so that they see the projects. The government belongs to them too. It doesn't belong.
What then becomes a function of LACE?
LACE is to do public project. We mean what becomes a function of LACE?
Yeah, so
the LACE is executing the president project. What do you mean by the LACE is the one doing these projects that you're talking about. Where you see who doing the projects? All the county tour projects that LACE doing it. The palavra halls, the water pumps, all the things that you see going all across the county. The money that the president is spending, all the promises he's making, all that stuff. LACE executing it in Lima County, all the procurement that LACE doing it. So there's money here, that money the other people that were using to travel with, that the money they were putting in fat salary. So these people were not getting this money. Only the few people in the government were getting it. Now we have taken government and carried it to the ordinary people. They have seen that. So, okay. So what the government has done is to cut government expenses, free up some money for community roads. How do you think we build 1.5 kilometers of community road? Now every community in Montreal want road. Why every community in Montreal will not protesting for road? Because you know why? They believe that road will not come in their lifetime. But it's not John Weir kind of see road. Oh, one success leads to another demand for greater success. We are the victims of our own success. That is our story. The thing that other people were not doing, the people he know were possible, so they were not even really going. When you show him not being what possible and he get it, then he say, I want more. But what happened to the government?
Okay, so this is my final question to you. If you look at section 2.2 of the National Road Fund Act that talks about 2.2, it speaks about the use of the funds, and it emphasizes that it should be used solely on road-related matters. And under section 2.4, subsection 5, it gives you the authority to appoint the road fund manager, right? On 2 separate occasions, the government will do $6 million from the road fund to settle the issue of salary, and the second time, $27 million thereabout to settle salary. I want to ask in this public manner, have you been able to replenish what was taken from the road fund over the period of time?
The government does not owe a road fund currently.
Okay.
In terms of legacy monies, the government is still indebted to the road fund on legacy issues.
Okay.
Legacy issues.
How much are we talking about?
Well, I think in the neighborhood, I gotta look at the number clearly. I don't like to throw a number out there when you go and look. These numbers are.
But it is important to inform the public here.
What is important here is to say that the reappropriation process. So technically, when you look at it, where there's a confusion with that audit, when the legislature appropriates, they mean that they're not there. So it means the legislature say we reappropriate road fund. So we don't owe road fund that one because of the legislature appropriation. That information was not known to the auditor. When the legislature goes to the audit, when the legislature goes to ratify and cost the road fund appropriation, then that's law. It means road fund is not entitled to the other one. So that's where the debate about whether we owe them. But going by the law that the legislature passed to say we'll take road fund money, reappropriate it, since that law.
It means that you've paid back the debt.
No. The legislature action means we don't owe that money that we reappropriated.
Okay.
Whether we want to pay it back as we grow the fund, we get more money, we can have that conversation. But legally, the legislature say road fund 27, only give them this 13. The other money here is not dead. Road fund cleaning it as dead. So that's a reconciliation.
Now, Mr. Minister, very shortly open the lines. But before then, you are speaking to almost the entire country.
Yeah.
Because we have ELBC going across the entire country and we have all the local radio stations. Now, before we open the lines, I want you to give this message to our people. Why do you think it's quite necessary to re-elect President Weah for the second time?
Well, I think people have felt this. They know that it's very critical for this country's future that the president continues to do what he is doing, because the president is already on high momentum on major challenges that have held this country back for a very long time. Challenges of road. All the money for the Southeast Road has now been identified. So we don't have a money problem on the Southeast. We're only appealing to our Southeastern people that time. Now, so we finish securing all the money to do the road from Sacré-Pied all the way passing by to Fishtown. That all those segments there, Total, Tapeta, Total, all that money have been identified by the George Weah administration.
The total of how much?
I think the total will be, if we do 80, 50, so maybe around 150 million thereabouts. The African Development Bank are coming from Fishtown to the Treasury side, the total. So technically around 150. So World Bank, all of us sat down, we map everything. Our only enemy here, that money. Our enemy, that time. So we look at the time we asked our people for. So the man who finished laying that foundation, that he the one will complete, he completing that one. That's it. In electricity, in the next 4 years, we will move the McCoffey system to 300 megawatts. You know what that means? 300 megawatts means ArcelorMittal does not have to worry about bringing B Mountain there. We have systems where we're able to supply them and they pay into LEC. At that time, LEC there will be giving money, sell for salary because LEC will be having plenty of money. That's the system. That's the future that John Weah has laid. I told you this problem. For the last 60 years of our country's existence, we've been running on 66 in 8 megawatts. It is under George Weah that we come and go wrong on 300 or 350. Something that we've been planning to do for 50 years. The RIA highway, okay, the gateway, when people name the country, they say, what kind of country is so? I tell you, we're running on the accident. The president opened it up. Look at how the road exposed the car. We're driving the car, the road so big, the car is small. So all that travel we used to be in for 2 hours. That just because the road was tight. So Boaga and couldn't see the thing here. It took George Weah to kind of open it up. You see? So Nima County, all the roads that you see in Nima County, all the feeder roads, Nima County agriculture is happening because of the road connections that is there. It is this president who done that. Prince Johnson told me, so Nima County has received $5.4 million institutional development fund. The senator will allow to the people that the government owing them $7 million. Those are the propaganda. And the propaganda we're dealing with. We're dealing with lies and lies. They've lied to the Liberian people so much. If somebody has to lie on you to beat you or to challenge you, you know what conclusion somebody can draw for it? Is that, but then if you have to lie to beat a man, then man probably not doing something wrong. Because if the man doing something wrong, you don't need to lie. You need to go to the thing you're doing wrong. Why are you lying? Why are you inventing things? Why are you saying the government owing $7 million social development fund when the government not owing that one? So that invention. So you want them to put against the government when we are paying the people $5.4 million. And we're not over. So you see, the president, the people of Nima, the people of Sieh, all over the country, people of Lofa. The president is writing Lofa there. They're talking about the development. The road is going to reach. The president just secured a lot of money from Qatar, the road to move it from Vanjama to the American side. That money is in the work. So the man is doing the heavy lifting. The man said he will solve our road problem, he will solve our electricity problem, and then he will solve the agriculture problem. That are 2-3 things, like I say, that he will finish in 7 10. The education problem, he already tackled in there. I just told you, all schools now, all districts will now have a high school. Number one. We are addressing the quality problem. There was a World Bank mission that just came here. The Minister of Education met them. They plan to turn education around, to keep girls in school. All that one laying, we laying that foundation. The health sector, look at the number of hospitals. Quality is the next area that the government going to look to now. Provisioning all these hospitals with capacity to treat our people. All of them work. The men got to continue. You keep building power for 2 years, you do nothing. Okay, the this one thing, they leave all the people. That John Ware who doing something fire that want to go take from power and bring who there? Who you bring him? You bring in the same man who's left for 12 years and say he want to go, he coming back? You can't make it. The people are smart. So that's what we are seeing in the feedback we get as we engage communities. You saw that in the massive turnout on September 7th. September 7th was not a typical CDC crowd. Look at it carefully. Analyze it. September 7th were independents, were first-time voters, were the people who normally have not gone on the sycamore tree. They have heard too much of the propaganda against the government, and they said, but what kind of thing is that? They came out in resentment, they came out in show solidarity. You saw that. Then you saw them come and struggle for up to 5 p.m. to fill that place, and they did not fill in all the massive spaces. The panic that is within the camp, that the reason why Prince Johnson came the next day, he was almost fainting because I know the struggle they went through to fill that place. He could not believe they were going to struggle like that. So he came outside the next day to tell the people, thank you, that he thought that he thought. They fear that they camp. By 2 o'clock, nobody want to fill up. The whole Central Maria, the person that John Ware won't go there. The whole place locked down. They panicking. 3 o'clock, nothing. So they had to bust people all over. What is that telling you? It's telling you, my man, the voter there, you got to hustle hard for the vote. Because the whole Central Maria should have continuously raising and say, we'll show George Weah that we want him. The Central Maria did not show George Weah that. They had to tell people for all any pleasant people to attract people to come. You see, simultaneous respect all over, because naturally the people are prepared for the president's second term. In that second term, they will see bigger success.
Many thanks, Mr. President. Let's try to take Mr. Minister. Let's try to take some calls now. Good morning. Good morning.
Again, good morning, Uncle Sorbor George, the top talking Sorbor George, and all other acrobatic journalists in studio trying to quiz the ever-potent and finest minister. My name is Tweah Jr, and I call from Panelists about outlines the working physical encyclopedia/18th Street. Mr. Minister, you have spoken lengthily, well, and I must commend you for your expose. You see, I want to ask you one question which has to do with your ascendancy as a minister of the Republic of Liberia. At the time you ascended to that post, the opposition, they were crying wolf around here. What are the cause that led to the force coming from the opposition that wanting the president to remove you from your post? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. All right. He'll respond. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Sorbor, thanks for having me. This is Mark Joko, and I call from the office of the Intellectual Alliance of Liberia. Well, let me appreciate the minister for the excellent presentation. But Sorbor, I basically called to ask the minister a simple question. I listened to Austin say that the Minister of Transport is blacked out. Not transport, but the Minister of
the Transit Authority
is blacked out because of certain things that they owe. Yeah, they owe to the court. Why the National Transit Authority, who is a government entity, should be locked out? Why is it that Happy McCarty, who is there as the director there, not doing his work, and use guys at the Ministry of Finance and the president not taking action against these people? These are people who support in this government names that the president is not doing nothing.
Okay.
It's so unfortunate to listen to Austin saying that.
Okay, you make a point already. Let's take this caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor.
Yes, sir.
And good morning to listeners following the broadcast. Sorbor, this is Ojuku Obozwa. Ojuku. I called this morning to appreciate the minister. The best minister, finance minister ever in the history of our country. I want to thank the minister and the president
for the work they have done in the interest of the Liberian people, that they continue to do in the interest of the Liberian people. We want to encourage all Liberians to vote the president for the second time. It will make this country a better place. And to all my citizens of Nima, President Weah, Sieh, so President Weah, so Nima people, let us not listen to Prince Johnson. Let us, he want money for himself. Let us elect President Weah to make our country better. And President Weah is doing better things for Nima people. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so what he said the Nibians and the people of Liberia should not listen to any other person. President Weah has constructed roads. He has done a lot. He has developed Nima County beyond words can express, and that Prince Johnson only wants money for himself and nothing else. So you should not be listened to.
That's good. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Okay, good morning to our studio guest, Honorable Minister. I'm David Douglas. I'm from him from Maria resident, member of this party. I want to appreciate the minister so kindly this morning for lengthily teaching the Liberian people and the lesser opposition the macroeconomics and the microeconomics. First thing, Mr. Sorbor, I know the guys are lazy. They are forgetting where they saw Liberia and where they left it. If you look at the economic growth of Liberia, it was taking over. It was 5.28. When Eddie left from power, it's 4 at 2.46. So what are some of the things that they were doing that they want to say that they did well in this government? I want to appreciate the minister so much for being very much active in working and supporting the PAPD of this government. He has been one of the people holding on to this government to make the success story of this government. So I want to appreciate him. He should be detailed by the distractors. We are on par with winning the election on the first round ballot. So Mr. Minister, thank you so much this morning for your work done at the Ministry of Finance Development Planning. We are with you and we'll make sure, President, we are going to be re-elected on the first ballot come October 10th. That will be his birthday gift that we're going to give him for his work he has done all over this country.
Thank you.
You guys.
Many thanks. I take this caller. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. George.
Yes, sir.
Let me say good morning to one of the best ministers ever, finance minister ever, ever produced. You know, this morning I thought that it was important not to leave on my radio because when I heard that the minister will come in studio, and I know that we're going to learn a lot, you know, and trust me, with all these questions you got, tough questions you guys have posed to him, I think the minister have done it excellently well by responding to you guys. Moving on, I want to thank him for being part of district number 1, Margibi. My name is, I forgot to call my name though, but I'm too excited as well. My name is Marcus Epenico Kawah Senior. And for district number 1 specifically, there was I want to thank him for the many work. You know, when you come on the marshal role, the kind of man we had as a minister in this country, the work he's doing on the marshal role is too excellent, you know. He has made, even when you come on the marshal road, you hear his name like a household name now on the marshal road. We want to thank him for being part of district number 1, Margibi County, and we are certainly behind him. We are behind the president, and we will support this president, and we know the policy of this president will better this country called Liberia. Thank you very much for the time.
Many thanks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see this call. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sorbor, and good morning to the Council of Liberia. Good morning.
Yes, go right ahead.
My name is Abraham Podeteko Mojusetu, and I call from the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau on the most talk about Bagukwe Avenue this morning. Thank you for inviting the Honorable Minister Institute, Minister Tweah. I think right information at the right time help to erase speculation and help to bring hope to the public. You know, when the citizen government took over, that's why we say that this government doing extremely well under the unique leadership of President George Manawia. When the citizen government took over 2018, there was a national stakeholder dialogue and validation exercise. And in that meeting, Conscious Money Librarian made recommendation that he wanted to come to be transparent. In that note, the Internal Auditing Commission agency, the day of validation is at the payroll audit verification exercise. During that time, they discovered 1,164 ghost names on the payroll. What did the government do? They, in consultation with the Ministry of Education, they removed those ghost names. Government was able to save 2.3 million United States dollars annually. That showed that this government, the proper administration, who say that it's quite an opportunity to want to state power, they have a lot of money, but they have people on ghost name taking that money and paying Google horses. But that's why President John Manuel we are saying he will do everything possible in showing that have free school now. The need for program are also in the country. And one person who benefiting from the free tuition, the one issue of the one say, and I will be granted for 12 days. So
okay.
Happy of the government, and we are this second thing. So I hope
many thanks. You made all of your points already. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Sorbor.
Yes, good morning, sir.
And, good morning to the peace-loving people of Liberia. My name is Tweah Johnson, and I joined the conversation in the headquarters of the Veterans Bureau in Document this morning. Well, Sorbor, let me appreciate the minister for his brilliant presentation. The minister was able to outline the government progress made, especially during the last 5 years, especially where the president has been able to focus on infrastructure development and human development capital, which are primary issues that have been addressed by this president, of which the Liberian people have seen the work that the president has done, especially with the construction of the different roads around the country, the issues that has to do with the free tuition policy that has been introduced at the University of Liberia, all of public institutions in this country that cut across to alleviate the burden on the Liberian students so as to have them in school. So I think these are my remarkable work and job being made by this president, or which this president will be elected for the second term. Thank you.
Many thanks. This caller, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Wilson Johnson, following from district number 15, member of the National Response and Prevent Team. Let me appreciate the workaholic Prime Minister of our time. Let me say this, the purple cause, I think district 15 is benefiting from the purple cause to be pursued as looking down Broad Street Road. And I think the minister was corrupt when he said the opinion pool, I think we are in the sleeve, wallet. Anthony Julius, conducted an opinion poll in Nima County, and he is someone who can testify to the opinion poll for Nima County. Also, full evidence, which of course we all know that is not in support of the government. They know the result that they conducted, the opinion poll that was conducted, they know the result. So I think for all indication we are winning this election victory. So thank you, Mr. Minister. And I think let me again appreciate you, Mr. Minister. Both high schools over the years, we never had anything that has senior high section. For all president we are administration, both high school now has been senior high school for now. So thank you on behalf of the people of district number 15 to be pursued from the National Response Team angle. We highly appreciate you and the government for the significant work towards that part. So thank you.
Many thanks. This caller. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, my honorable sorry for the knee. The minister said first time news. After that, on Nimba Kande, member of Yabi Baroka support president. We are supposed to 2 years eternal. The vote or the people, the opposition, they are serious or defeat already, so they are seeing the planning strategy, but we don't have problem with that. Well, the opposition will never cheat. 2 years will never cheat. We the people, they accept it. That means we accept it. Then we are in government now, they want to farm or point for us. We don't have problem with that. In the first place, we beat Joseph Boga in who country, which is local country. And at the play now, they will start looking for points. Say, oh, if we will cheat there. And they will say, oh yeah, we see or Joseph Boga, I will say the post you there. In your own country, they beat you for that. In Nimba Kane, I hate for Nimba Kane. Since our political profile in Nimba Kane, which is Senator Prince Watson, which is Prince Johnson, say he told that power 18 years, Prince Johnson, and never campaign for the year. You now see who defeat, he run campaign from town to town, from village to village. And we'll tell a lot of people that this coming or towards the election, we are going to be the opposition politically. We are not going to cheat, and we don't cheat. But we have a record. You don't cheat, send you a bone. You don't know value that have cooking.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Okay, you made a point. Let's take this caller. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
How are you, sir? How are you?
I'm okay.
This is Alfred Johnson. I want to commend the minister. He has been doing really well as one of the minister of this government. But what is concerned to us as staffers of the Senate, this is our gas. There have been
Staffers of the Senate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been up to 6 to 7 months now. We have not had a gas for our people. And in recent time, there was information that we would have gotten gas, but up to now we have not gotten it. What is the state of the gas? We just wanted to know because every time the program be asking us.
Okay.
Is it another communication?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, of the Senate. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Christian Yanti, and I joined the conversation for the Office of the Intellectual Alliance of Nigeria along the Japan Freeway. Well, let me appreciate the minister for the splendid deliberation, and I think he touched almost everything. That is the reason why we continue to tell our people that if there's nothing to inform your decision not to support Baka, think about why James Emmanuel Nukwe, who contested with Joseph Iman Baka in 2017, is not supporting Baka today. You should also fundamentally realize and think, why is it that Henry Costa, who generated adequate money to ensure that when the United Party were thrown out of their office, they were being able to he was being able to give them some money so that they could pay for their new office. You must think, why is it that Madam Sharif is not supporting Joseph Iman Baka? It will fundamentally inform your decision that Joseph Iman Baka lacks leadership ability to govern a small group of people, not to even talk about a country that has approximately 5.2 million people. Joseph Iman Baka leadership on our watch, so what happened? Today, President, we are in relatively short period of time have provided leadership for every spectrum of our country. Go to the health sector, there is a greater mark there. Go to the infrastructural sector of our country, there is a greater mark there. Not to talk about the economy of our country. Minister Sieh gave the data in a splendid number, and everything has been made crystal clear. Our people should know. He said something before that there is an economic food that we are cooking today. It is on the fire. We can just put our hand inside and take it off. If we have to dawn, and today we are realizing the things we were talking about. We have enjoyed macroeconomic stability in the country over years. So let's be able to rally around President Weah to some of the things that he is undertaking today, so we can be able to come out there, so that our country can be a country for all.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We'll take 3 more calls and we'll go back to our studio guests. Good morning. Good morning.
Sorbor, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'd like to say morning to you and your team of panelists in studio. My name is David Sieh. I join you from District 6 in Montserrado. Sorbor, let's say hats up to the Honorable Minister Tweah. Quite frankly, he's one of those instruments who have kept this government alive, well, and kicking. If Minister Tweah was not there crafting the PAPD, he was there championing liberal development's agenda to foreign partners to attract more funding. If he was not doing so, he was on the radio adequately articulating the achievements of the government. So there's a sense in which that over the past 5 years, we need to appreciate him. But my concern precisely this morning has to do with this election. It is my wish, it is my prayer that this president is re-elected, because I believe that the work he's done over the past 5 years deserves another re-election. But the point is, election has to do with numbers. Montserrado alone has about 1 million, registered voter approximately. Each district, my recommendation to him and the entire campaign team, I don't know which role he plays on this campaign team, but my recommendation is that each district in Montserrado needs to be treated as or counted. For example, District 6, where I live, we have about 65,000 registered voters, which is equivalent to a county in the southeast or somewhere in the western region of Liberia. So if you are aggressively going to campaign and approach these districts, especially in Montserrado, as a county, is going to help Otherwise, you look at places like Grand Basso, you look at Nema, you look at Lofa, you look at Bon County. These are places the opposition to some extent were made. The people have strength there. So if you don't recognize the fact, because the people campaign managers from Bon County, Prince Boy from Bon County, Young Kanga is from Grand Basso County, the people Senate Barrow is from Lofa County, the people Vice Senate Barrow is from Nema County. So if you are not taking these numbers into consideration and taking a holistic approach to campaign, this is the last 2 weeks. So there needs to be an aggressive approach that everyone's hand need to be on deck. The government through the campaign team needs to empower foot soldiers, people who are ready to do the work. This is that time to work. President Weah has done extremely well, but the propaganda has been very persistent against this government. The propaganda arm of this government has been weak over the past 5 years. You only hear people that send out to they coming on the radio, people that Eugene Langbe they coming on the radio, but how often are the opposition from 2018 to this time has survived on propaganda? It is propaganda that gave the people Montserrat County. It is propaganda that gave them Grand Basso. It is propaganda that gave them propaganda that gave them Bon County. So this time, Minister Tweah, you guys and the entire campaign team needs to empower people who are ready to do the real work. You all need to go in the trenches to make sure that President Weah is re-elected. They may have done so much for him to be re-elected.
Okay.
If you people don't do the real work, it's not going to work. I wish you well. I wish the president well. I wish to see President Weah be re-inaugurated in January of next year. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. So take two more calls. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor. Good morning to all your panelists. Good morning to the workaholic minister, Honorable Samuel D. Tweah. This is Emmanuel Tosia as the executive member of the National Response and Defense Team, Sorbor. You know, Minister Tweah has said everything excellently. You see, if you look at our population in our country, and the youth are 65%, right? And if you look at President Weah administration, what he has been able to execute over the period of time is youth driven, and addresses the issue of the bread and butter. So, and what we can clearly see, Lofa has fallen gradually. The people of Lofa have decided and they are making their mind to choose development over traditional.
Okay.
I think what these people
All right. I think you make your point. Let's take the last caller quickly. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sir John.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah. My name is Delaware Talu. My name is Delaware Talu. I'm calling from the office of Fiami Paroka Medicine.
Okay.
I just want to extend my appreciation and thanks to the Power Economic Medicine, some of the teacher, our leader. No, let me clear in the country, Sorbor. We are actually cleaning the Joseph Waka 2 years better and greater for the country. That government is massively working. That's why we are going in the tickets to getting for our present war veteran. People have resolved. Other job you have administration, you have free WiFi. Other job we have administration, you have massive road connectivities. Today look at how I roll. Today look at the Gata to Secretary. Today look at the Gata to Sunny College. You can free electricity. People that do all the administration who don't reach you and don't receive anything. But other jobs we have administration, common people never to receive anything. Now what we're able to job here, we didn't job we do everything to protect and defend to get our war veterans.
Okay. Many thanks. Well, that does it, Mr. Minister.
Thank you.
The calls been so many, they're still calling, but we have to go.
Yeah. I mean, the callers were passionate, but I will pick a few of them, especially the guy who made the passionate case for the president's re-election.
Okay.
I think he was the 10th caller. The president is saying, look, Montserrat is the path to the president's election. That's his strategy.
Yeah.
Each district like District 4, 83,000 persons. That's almost like, like a county, or two counties you're talking about. So he's right. District like District 11, District 6, 73. So these are large districts in Montserrat. I can tell him that the campaign manager has a strategy. The campaign team has a strategy in dealing with that. The game is that people like him, all ordinary Liberians, are the ones that are running the campaign on a door-to-door basis. So he is right in that. He said one thing that I really, really want to pick up on, that and this is the fundamental thing here at Bar, that the Unity Party has tried to survive on propaganda. And that's their only weapon.
Surely.
In 2018, 2019, somebody advised the Unity Party that your only chance against George Weah, who is a popular president. Now, many presidents don't come to the presidency popular. People come ordinary, then they become popular as the president, right? Like they use the levels of policy. George Weah is already popular enough president. If George Weah leads Liberia to some kind of prosperity, some kind of governance where the people like, then you're moving beyond the popularity of George Weah. You're now going to the popularity of his institution. So your best chance against George Weah is to disrupt him. This is the strategy that they acted on. Disruptive governance. Challenge the man. He should not lead. Because if this man leads and the Liberian people see him, you adding to his popularity, but not him. His party becomes the institution that transforms Liberia. The way you're going. That is what it's about. So the propaganda against the party has been, and all the things that we've done, they just lie, they lie. And somehow, at some point, the Liberian people, were moved by some of those lies. He just said it. The man knows the development the president is doing, but he also knows that there is this lie, this perception of things not, so he's struggling. So he wants the effort to say, no, this man who has succeeded, who has done all has to be re-elected. We can't elect somebody on the basis of lying. I think generally Liberians, their lies have caught up with them. I think that's what the caller is expressing. Many callers are expressing. Propaganda is a strategy. Yeah, you can use it as a weapon. You can weaponize it, but you can't depend on propaganda to get election. No, especially amid development by your opponent, because the development speaks for itself. All right. So I say thank you to all the callers. They've all been, had wonderful praises for the president. It's been a great opportunity to work with the president. It's one of the, it's the very high of my life to have served him in his first term and to see, for us to go through the challenges together and to appreciate his understanding, his patience, and his tenacity. To juggle multiple things at the same time, the enormity of the pressure. One of the lowest moment when students blocked the president's vehicle, when students stood in front of the president and say the teachers and blah blah, that was in 2019. That was one of the lowest of the government. But one of the callers said that was the time we were cooking the rice, cooking the food. You have your children in the house, they don't lack, they can't go outside, they're hungry, you don't get no candy, you don't get no bread, the food on the fire. And they're crying. What do? You put your hand in a hot rice and give it to them, or in a raw rice. You ain't get in the raw soup. You have to talk to them.
Yeah.
When the food done, then you dish it up and you get cool fat, and you give it to them. So that caller, remember that thing. So the people can listen. The Liberian people, let me tell you, I want to tell you, I can't hear this, I can't radio. The Liberian people can listen. They are retentive. 2 instances, that guy, remember that analogy that I gave once, and it's true. So people are now seeing the fruits. So at the time we're losing the election in 2019, we're cooking the food. You could not explain anything to anybody. But now when you want to bring that same 2019 propaganda, the people say you lie on the government. So that way nobody struggling with now.
Your parting comments, sir.
Parting comments is, Liberians should prepare to go and re-elect the president. The Unity Party cannot destroy this country. They are not the standard for fairness and free election. No, they're not. They are a contesting party. They are independent arbiters. They are independent processes. They are observers who are here whose opinion will matter. We have the court systems. We have the net systems to challenge results. All of those systems have been tested and tried. Let's go back to our institutionalism that we have built. Let's use net systems that we have built and trusted. We trusted those same systems in 2020 in opposition for 12 years. The Unity Party, who were the governing party at the time, have to trust the same systems today. Yes, there will be complaints here and there, but broadly and mildly, broadly, Liberians are elected, politicians are elected on the merit of a credible system that we have.
Okay.
And the government will do everything to protect the peace of this country. Liberian people can go to bed resting that the national security of this country is fully capacitated to deal with any situation that our international partners are preparing. Actually, there is a United States I think Undersecretary there who's coming to observe the situation in the country. I hope you journalists will have a time to ask him. You can ask his opinion about some of these statements, some of these threats that are coming up. These people will not allow Liberia to go. Look, Liberia is sitting in a country surrounded by a region where all kinds of negative things are happening. We are the exception democratically. No political prisoner. Our army is a professional army, all right? It's not politicized. Our security, our police can feed protesters, give them water. Those things don't happen in countries around us. Yeah. You go protest, police people give water, they're shooting there. Yeah, nobody. Patrick Suru has led a democratic policing here. You got to give it up to the president for maintaining the peace, and we've done so with our own resources. Their time, Onme was fixing road for Onme to go Lufa, for Onme to do this, keeping the peace. While the money they were having, they were not preparing for the day that Onme will leave. They were squandering the opportunities, as the vice president said. Those days have come. We are not squandering our opportunity. We are using our resources wisely, and then they're coming with propaganda. But the Liberian people will be the judge. I have no doubt that the president will be re-elected on October 10th. Thank you.
Mr. Minister, thank you very much for taking time off your busy schedule to appear on the program today. Hey, Miles, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I do appreciate, and I knew that this interview would have been a success. And thanks to the minister, and thanks to my colleagues right here.
Mr. Kenya?
So for me, it's a goodbye.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thanks to the minister, thanks to the management here, especially you as well, Sorbor, for having us here this morning. It was great being part of the conversation.
Julius?
Yeah, it was good being here. I hope other politicians and others will open themselves up to these kinds of grueling, I guess this must be one of his toughest interviews that he has faced in a very long time.
Yeah, sure.
Others should be willing.
Especially those on the other side of the political divide. And I hope the minister will give consideration to serving other capacity. Do you still want to be for the minister if you're called to?
Okay, so this is just how we go home. Sorbor George is my name.
I want to